Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Orochimaru-sama also told him that as long as the clone body that was researched can grow up, then this clone body will be his most perfect reincarnation container. The thing he was most worried about started to happen. Orochimaru-sama now has a better reincarnation container than him, Kimimaro. In this case, what is the meaning of his existence? Kimimaro was very confused. Even if his bloodline limit genetic disease was cured, what would it mean? After all, Orochimaru-sama is no longer interested in his body. Many times, Kimimaro wanted to sneak into Orochimaru-sama's research room and destroy everything inside. In this way, he would be Orochimaru-sama's most perfect container. But this kind of bold and reckless idea just filtered through his mind and he threw it behind his head. He is not the kind of person who forgets his gratitude because of selfishness. Just as Kimimaro was a little dazed, a sudden voice from the side interrupted his thoughts. Shikatsumiaka brat, I told you to raise your arm, didn't you hear me? Kimimaro turned his head and found that the voice came from Tsunade, who was treating him. In the face of Tsunade's reminder, Kimimaro was indifferent. His immobility, just like a piece of wood, made Tsunade frown and mutter, could it be that the medicine is not right, and it has ruined this kid's brain? I don't need to be saved. Let this genetic disease accompany me for a lifetime. Kimimaro's voice, as faint as a mosquito, sounded silently. Although the voice was very small, it was still heard by Tsunade. Tsunade raised her eyebrows. Hey, you little brat, could it be that your brain is really broken by the medicine? What are you talking about? Kimimaro shook his head. Even if you cure me, I don't know what I should do, let alone what I can do. His little hand was tightly clutching the corner of his clothes. Orochimaru-sama has a better vessel, he doesn't need me anymore. My belief in life, my reason for existence, are all for Orochimaru-sama. And Orochimaru-sama. Before Kimimaro could finish his sentence, he was punched in the head by Tsunade, who was on fire. With a bang crisp sound, Kimimaro's eyes suddenly widened, and under Tsunade's strange power, this punch almost cracked Kimimaro's forehead. Ouch, it hurts. Kimimaro covered his head, looking at Tsunade very puzzled, not knowing why this woman was angry. Stupid little brat. Why are you so pretentious? Tsunade, imitating Whitebeard's tone, stretched out a fair finger and poked Kimimaro's forehead, complaining angrily, in this world, if only Orochimaru cares about you, then why should I treat you? Why does Naruto want me to treat you? Why does Whitebeard let you stay on Moby Dick and not drive you away? For every sentence Tsunade said, she poked Kimimaro's forehead. Can't you move your brainwashed brain and think about it? How can a 10-year-old kid be like a severe depression? You don't look like depression. A stinky little brat, you don't know anything. Tsunade became more and more angry. She grabbed Kimimaro's ear and gritted her teeth. Come with me. Tsunade forcibly pulled Kimimaro's ear and dragged him off the sickbed. Her strength was not something Kimimaro could resist. Tsunade dragged Kimimaro onto the deck in such a way. The two of them, one big and one small, attracted a lot of attention. What's wrong? Naruto, who was training hard, was a little curious and looked at Kimimaro and Tsunade. He muttered, did Kimimaro offend Sister Tsunade? Sasuke wiped the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief, and pondered with his fingers on his chin. Tsunade-sama seems to be very annoyed. I don't know what happened. They watched as Tsunade dragged Kimimaro in front of Whitebeard. Even Kimimaro himself didn't expect that Tsunade would drag him here. In Kimimaro's line of sight, Whitebeard was sitting on a big chair with a big horse, and he was still holding a big wine pot in his hand. With Whitebeard's exaggerated figure, the wine pot he was holding was bigger than Kimimaro, and he could probably stuff Kimimaro into it. Gulp 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 gulp. Whitebeard drank several gin of strong wine heartily. His rugged and heroic face was slightly drunk, and he looked down at Tsunade and Kimimaro in front of him with his eyes down. Whitebeard placed the wine jug beside him, his vacant eyes crinkled into a smile as he asked. Gorrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Want to join the Whitebeard pirates? Tsunoda twitched at the corner of her mouth, shook her head, and then pointed to Kimimaro next to her. I think this little brat should join the Whitebeard pirates more than I should, so he can find his life's purpose. Oh no. Tsunoda placed one hand on top of Kimimaro's head, saying, he shouldn't just join the Whitebeard pirates, this little brat must join the Whitebeard pirates. Then, Tsunoda turned to Kimimaro. Did you hear that? Little brat. Today, you will acknowledge Whitebeard as your father and join the Whitebeard pirates. You need to have a real family, a group of real family members, to teach you the meaning of life. Seeing a little brat younger than Nawaki talking about death, Tsunoda couldn't help but get angry. So, she used the most direct and brutal method. That is to forcibly make Kimimaro acknowledge Whitebeard as his father, and forcibly make Kimimaro join the Whitebeard pirates. Let this little brat feel what family and home are. In this way, he won't be talking about Orochimaru all day long. Oh? Gorurura. Whitebeard asked Kimimaro, who was stunned, in a slightly drunken tone. Little brat, do you want to join the Whitebeard pirates? Faced with Tsunoda's exasperated tone and Whitebeard's questioning tone, Kimimaro didn't know what to say for a while. He wanted to say that Tsunoda had forcibly brought him here, that it was not his wish, and that he did not want to come here. But he couldn't say this sentence when it reached his throat. Because the family and family members in Tsunoda's mouth. For Kimimaro, who is an orphan, it is indeed full of poisonous temptation. Kimimaro had to admit in his heart that he admired a man like Whitebeard. The powerful strength shown by Whitebeard, and that chivalrous mind, have a fatal attraction for a little brat like Kimimaro who is not very old. He has been a prisoner in the Whitebeard pirates for so long, and he knows that the Whitebeard pirates is a very special family. Naruto, Sasuke, Neji, Kakashi, Karen and other members of the pirate group, the kind of mutual love and unity shown in daily life, are all seen by Kimimaro. It's all fake to say that you don't envy and hope. Kimimaro always wants to have a family, wants to have family members, also wants to be cared for by others, and hopes that his power can help those who care about him and those who care about him. Orochimaru-sama Kimimaro didn't expect that one day he would be so hesitant and dilly-dally. Just as Tsunoda scolded, how did he become so pretentious? Is it because the time he spent in the Whitebeard pirates has changed his character and thoughts a lot? Orochimaru is nothing. Tsunoda gave Kimimaro another knock on the head, which hurt so much that Kimimaro was almost in tears. This is a physiological instinct. Tsunoda was so angry that her chest was undulating, and she snorted. If you didn't want to join the Whitebeard pirates, you would have turned around and left. You must have this idea in your heart. That scoundrel Orochimaru has already become a captive of the Whitebeard pirates, hiding on the Moby Dick all day like a turtle, afraid to go out for fear of being assassinated by the Akatsuki, or running into that guy Jiraiya. Tsunoda continued. Kid, that scoundrel Orochimaru can't run away, he's going to be locked up in the Whitebeard pirates for the rest of his life, and I'm going to keep an eye on that guy for the rest of my life. You don't want to be kicked off the ship one day because you're an outsider, do you? Tsunoda waved her hand. Forget it, there's no use talking so much to a stubborn kid like you, consider my good intentions wasted. Just as Tsunoda was about to pull Kimimaro away, she found that the kid was resisting her strength. Kimimaro bit his lip. His subconscious told him that if he missed this opportunity, he would really miss it. Under Tsunoda's somewhat surprised gaze, he pulled his hand back. Kimimaro took a deep breath. Tsunoda-sama, thank you for enlightening me. This was the first time he addressed Tsunoda as Tsunoda-sama. I understand. Chapter 286, Kimimaro, Pops. New member of the Whitebeard Pirates. In a brief moment, many thoughts flashed through Kimimaro's mind. He knew he couldn't leave Orochimaru-sama, and he also admitted that he seemed unable to leave the Whitebeard Pirates. Especially when Tsunoda told him that maybe one day the Whitebeard Pirates would kick him off the ship. Kimimaro's heart did panic for a moment. If he was the kind of person who liked to escape from his own heart, he might not think too much about it. But Kimimaro is not that kind of person. He prefers to face his own heart, he prefers to face his own thoughts. When he looked at himself from a unique perspective, Kimimaro found that he really wanted to integrate into this group. And the word family in his mind refers to the Whitebeard Pirates. Perhaps only by having a family, only by having family members, can he be considered a complete person. He can also find the true meaning of his life through these two aspects. Kimimaro will naturally remember the kindness of Orochimaru-sama. But Orochimaru-sama did not forbid him to join the Whitebeard Pirates. Even Orochimaru-sama might agree. After all, isn't Orochimaru-sama also in the Whitebeard Pirates now? It's just that Orochimaru-sama's identity is a bit awkward. He is not Whitebeard's adopted son, but a captive of the Whitebeard Pirates. and he is being watched closely by Tsunade-sama, with no freedom to speak of, but Orochimaru-sama seems to enjoy it. Huh. Kimimaro, with thousands of thoughts flashing through his mind, let out a deep breath. Under Tsunade's somewhat surprised and puzzled gaze, his face gradually became serious. Kimimaro slowly raised his head, looking at Whitebeard in front of him. This was not the first time he had looked directly at Whitebeard, but this time, he was very close to Whitebeard. He only needed to take 2 more steps forward, and he could even touch Whitebeard's boots. Kimimaro swept away the hesitation and affectation in his mind, and an inevitable tension emerged in his chest. This made him unconsciously clutch the corner of his clothes, and sweat began to seep from his palms. Kimimaro bowed deeply to Whitebeard in front of him. I am very grateful to you and Naruto for allowing Tsunade-sama to take action and cure my illness. I would like to request you, as the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, to allow me to join the Whitebeard Pirates and become a part of the pirate group, even if I am just a handyman, I am willing. Even for someone with Kimimaro's personality, it takes a lot of courage to say these words. He was also very nervous in his heart. Kimimaro was a little afraid that Whitebeard would refuse. This is the only path he can think of to find a way to survive. If this path is blocked, Kimimaro doesn't know what to do. Perhaps, he will wait for death in a daze, or he may choose to end his life. Because under that circumstance, there is nothing in the ninja world that can be missed. Whitebeard-sama, please. Allow me to call you Pops. Kimimaro knelt on the ground with precise movements, his hands tightly against the ground, and his forehead just touching the deck. He couldn't describe the emotions that emerged in his heart, and his tone of voice was full of pleading. Such a plea is a bit humble. Like a lonely bird in the process of migration, begging to join a certain migratory bird group. Kimimaro knew that his analogy was very strange. But he felt that he was like that inconspicuous lonely bird. The entire deck of Moby Dick quieted down instantly, and one after another different eyes fell on Kimimaro. Even if Kimimaro didn't look up, he could feel that many eyes were focused on him. I didn't expect that this guy who is as stubborn as a rock was actually influenced by us. Sasuke lowered his voice and muttered. He is a KK Genkai ninja. If he joins the Whitebeard Pirates, he might be one of the pillars of the pirate group in the future. Naruto's smile was very bright. Ha, I said it, we can definitely pull him into the Whitebeard Pirates. No one in the ninja world can refuse our invitation, aren't we successful now? Neji looked at Kimimaro's back and murmured to himself. It seems that there will be another sparring partner soon. Shikatsu Myaku. I don't know who is stronger compared to our Hyuga clan's Byakugan. Kakashi said with some emotion. This kid finally chose to join us, he refused Naruto many times in my memory. Kisame grinned. He didn't refuse as many times as you did, Kakashi? Kakashi was a little embarrassed. Because he found that he was indeed the person who refused the most times, just in memory, he refused dozens of invitations. But in the end, he was really fragrant. He still joined the Whitebeard Pirates. TSK. The little brat adopted by the disgusting guy betrayed him. I don't know what he feels now. Sasori held his crudely made arms, a bit gloating. But it doesn't matter. As long as he is given another month, he can make a new body. Sasori is also a prisoner of the Whitebeard Pirates. He was inspired by Orochimaru and actively asked to teach the surviving Uchiha kids puppetry. Unexpectedly, that Whitebeard actually agreed. Whitebeard isn't afraid of him escaping at all. But Sasori is not Orochimaru. As long as he takes this opportunity to secretly create a new body for himself, he can use that new puppet body to quickly leave this place. The proud and arrogant Sasori does not want to become a captive of a group of pirates. Compared to Orochimaru who wants to use the Whitebeard Pirates as a shelter, Sasori always wants to gain freedom. On the other side, the drunkenness on Whitebeard's face has faded a bit. He is looking at the osteoporosis kid who is close at hand with a condescending gaze. Gorura, kid. Naruto, that idiot son of mine, is very interested in you. He has always wanted me to adopt you as my son. I have also invited you to join our pirate group, but you refused. When this sentence of Whitebeard came up, Kimimaro's heart thumped. Could it be? Could it be that his previous refusal has made him lose his chance forever? Kimimaro's face was a bit gloomy, and the eyes that originally had a bit of begging and hope gradually dimmed. Yes, a strong person like Whitebeard must have his pride. Whitebeard once invited him personally, but he was rejected by him. Now he wants to join the Whitebeard Pirates. Will the other party agree? Anyone with a bit of temper would refuse, right? Maybe he is destined to be a lone bird that cannot integrate into any group. Kimimaro slowly raised his head in a daze, but at this moment, he found that Whitebeard in front of him was actually reaching out a hand to him. Kimimaro was stunned. Gorura. Stupid kid. You ninja kids are really pretentious. Can't you just directly acknowledge me as your father like that idiot Sun Kisame? Whitebeard laughed loudly, his hearty laughter echoed through the sky, scaring the nearby ninjas of Hidden Cloud's village. They already have a bit of PTSD towards Whitebeard. Kaguya Kimimaro, is that your name? Whitebeard asked. Kimimaro was a bit dazed, his brain was a bit slow for a while, and he nodded awkwardly. I remember your name. Kaguya Kimimaro, from today onwards you are one of the crew members of the Whitebeard Pirates, and also my son. Whitebeard picked up the stunned Kimimaro. Before Kimimaro could react, he lifted Kimimaro high. Gorrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr banquet. In an instant, the atmosphere on the Moby Dick was ignited. Woo! Naruto jumped up excitedly, then hooked Sasuke's neck and shouted excitedly at Sasuke, "Sasuke, we have a new family member." Sasuke struggled to push Naruto away. "Stupid Naruto, you're too close. Your sweat is sticking to me." Meanwhile, somewhere in the ninja world. "Shikamaru, what should we do?" Chaji's body was curled up in the corner, shivering. Where had the 7-year-old him experienced such a big battle? Let me think. Shikamaru sat cross-legged on the ground, frowning in thought. This is a prison, and there are 4 people in the prison. They are Akimeki Chaji, Nara Shikamaru, Rock Lee, and Haruno Sakura. These 4 little kids were all captured by Obito. Chaji, Shikamaru, and Lee were captured because they have a very good relationship with Naruto. Sakura was captured because she has a good relationship with Ino. Bang! 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 Lee, swinging his fists, kept pounding on the steel door of the prison. He was already panting from exhaustion, but the door remained sturdy, not even leaving a trace of his fists. Lee wiped his sweat, panting. Damn! If I hadn't been ambushed, I could definitely defeat that despicable guy. Shikamaru rolled his eyes and retorted. You should be glad you were knocked out by a sneak attack. If you were beaten up like me and Chaji before being captured, that would be really unlucky. Sakura and Chaji were huddled in the corner, forming a duo of scaredy cats. Her face was pale. What on earth is going on? I woke up from a nap and found myself captured. Shikamaru pondered. It should be the Akatsuki organization wanting to use us to deal with the Whitebeard pirates. We have become hostages in their hands. That's bullying the weak. Lee was furious. Why don't they dare to capture those adults? Hey, stop arguing. You little kids from Hidden Leaf Village, you've been arguing from night to day, and from day to night, I've never seen you stop. A sudden voice made the 4 little kids change their expressions. Dobi, with no facial features, walked slowly. He leaned on the steel door of the prison, his tone was weird and somewhat curious. You little kids are quite brave, you are not scared even though you are captured, Obi regretted. What a pity, I still wanted to see how human kids pop stiffers from adults. Obi's appearance made Shikamaru and the others immediately shut up. In the end, it was Sakura who spoke first, her face pitiful. Can you please let me go? I'm just an ordinary ninja school student, it's useless for you to capture me. Obi glanced at Sakura. No. But. Obi stroked his chin, interested. If you show me how you poop, I might let you out for a few minutes. Pervert. Sakura's face turned even paler. Hey, are we no longer in Hidden Leaf Village, or even no longer in the Land of Fire? Shikamaru looked up calmly. I've been hearing the sound of rain outside, it's been raining for several days, and it hasn't stopped for a minute. Obi was surprised. Huh? You little guy are quite observant. Shikamaru's heart sank. The other party's response made Shikamaru know that they couldn't run away. Even if they could find a chance to escape this prison, but if this place is not the Land of Fire, where could they escape to? Hidden Leaf Village. Still haven't found anyone? Can't even find a useful clue? Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face darkened. Someone brazenly kidnapped the children of Hidden Leaf Village. It was simply audacious. The key is that several days have passed, and they haven't found any clues. Hokage-sama, we still can't find any clues. An Anbu ninja shook his head and replied. We have expanded the search range to a radius of 100 kilometers centered on Hidden Leaf Village. New information should be obtained soon. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath. He rubbed his temples and leaned back in his chair. He thought that after Whitebeard left, the village could calm down and there wouldn't be any headaches. Who would have thought that not even 3 months after Whitebeard left Hidden Leaf Village, such a major event would occur in the village? The eldest son of the Nara clan's head. Nara Shikamaru, the eldest son of the Akimeki clan's head. Akimeki Chaji, the ninja school students Haruno Sakura and Rock Lee. All disappeared within a single day. The latter 2 ordinary ninjas were not a big deal, but the first 2, their identities were not simple at all. Chauza and Shikaku, these 2, have been in a state of anxiety these days. If he, the third Hokage, couldn't find their children, they might even doubt his ability as the Hokage. By then, they might even follow in the footsteps of Yamanaka Inoyachi and join Whitebeard's pirate crew. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen's mood worsened. He gritted his teeth and said to the Anbu ninja, "Go find Denzo and ask about his root division, see if they have any clues." "Yes, Hokage-sama." Chapter 287, Conan's Shock. The encounter between Akatsuki and Whitebeard pirates. Obito, Obito. Obi came outside and looked up at Obito sitting on the tree branch. "Hey, what should we do next? Should we keep these brats here and do nothing?" Sitting on the tree branch, Obito, who was leaning against the tree and resting with his eyes closed, slowly opened his eyes and glanced at Toby below. "Humphrey." Obito snorted coldly and replied. "Of course, send a white Zetsuclone to deliver a challenge to the Whitebeard pirates." With the usefulness of the white Zetsuclone, how could Obito not take advantage of it? "Eh? White Zetsuclone?" Obi was taken aback. "You're not thinking of sending me to find the Whitebeard pirates, are you?" Immediately, Obi's tone became somewhat urgent. Hey, this is not an easy task." Obito twitched the corner of his mouth. "Idiot. I'm not asking you to go, there are so many white Zetsuclones, just pick one." "Oh. That's good, that's good." Obi's tone seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, even a bit of relief. His reaction made Obito narrow his eyes. "You're not scared, are you? You can feel fear too?" Well, apart from not being able to poop, I'm just like a human in other aspects." Toby waved his hand and explained. "It's normal for someone as special as me to feel fear, right?" Obito pursed his lips and didn't say anything more. He looked down at his own palm. At this moment, his hand was no longer the original one. Because his original arm had already been destroyed by Whitebeard. Damn it. But the degree of Whitebeard's detestability was far less than that of Kakashi. When Obito thought of Whitebeard, all he felt was a sense of palpitation, and his mind was full of thoughts of staying away from that man, lest he die in his hands next time. But when he thought of Kakashi, all Obito felt was a strong killing intent. He wished he could kill Kakashi right now. The welcome party that the Whitebeard pirates held for Kinamaru lasted a whole day, and they openly used the Raikage building of Hidden Clouds Village as the venue for the party. Such an extremely arrogant act made some of the more impulsive ninjas in Hidden Clouds Village grit their teeth in anger. But they had no choice. If they provoked the Whitebeard pirates, their reckless actions might involve the entire village. Outrageous. Outrageous. The fourth Raikage, with an empty right arm, smashed a table with a slap of his left hand, gritting his teeth. "Whitebeard pirates, you've gone too far." The fourth Raikage looked out and saw the Raikage building, which was already in ruins. Some of the village's ninjas were cleaning up the aftermath of the Whitebeard pirates' revelry from yesterday. Next to him, an elder from Hidden Clouds Village twitched his eyelids, fearing that this hot-tempered Raikage-sama would provoke Whitebeard again. He quickly spoke up. "Raikage-sama, the most important thing now is to stabilize Whitebeard. Once they've had enough of Hidden Clouds Village, they will definitely leave." I took a deep breath. It was easy to say, but he was the Raikage. Allowing a group of pirates to have fun on his own territory for a whole day, anyone with a bit of temper would be angry, right? I shifted his gaze and looked out the window, choosing to be out of sight, out of mind. But at a glance, he noticed a strange person. The other party was walking on the road, and the people around her seemed to not see her at all. Logically speaking, a woman as beautiful as her couldn't possibly not attract the attention of passers-by. Unless there was some special means to reduce her presence, or some special ninjutsu to obstruct the sight of passers-by. I frowned. That guy. At the same time, Conan vaguely felt someone staring at her. She furrowed her brows and looked in the direction of the gaze. The two gazes collided in midair. The upper body of the fourth Raikage appeared in front of Conan. Conan was startled. She just happened to be passing by this place. Who would have thought that when she looked up, it was the fourth Raikage of Hidden Clouds Village? My luck is a bit bad. Conan thought to herself. She calmly turned her head straight, pretending to be nonchalant, and continued to walk ahead. In fact, Conan wasn't too panicked. Because the direction she was heading to was indeed the direction of the Whitebeard pirates' Moby Dick within Hidden Clouds Village. Over the past 2 days, she had thought about what to do and what to say. She believed that the fourth Raikage, who had been captured by the Whitebeard pirates, did not want to see Whitebeard again. She determined that the other party would not follow. Although I haven't really come into contact with Whitebeard, I have obtained a small piece of information. Whitebeard might like money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have extorted billions from Hidden Clouds Village. This behavior is exactly the same as his behavior in Hidden Leaf Village. Conan felt that this was an important piece of information and a weakness of Whitebeard. As for how to use this, she couldn't think of it for the time being. Anyway, just remember it. Soon, Conan saw the very large pirate ship. The big ship was docked at the edge of Hidden Cloud's village. When the Whitebeard pirates first came to Hidden Cloud's village, Conan knew that the ship was docked at the foot of the mountain. She didn't know how those pirates managed to get the ship up there. A pirate ship on top of a kilometer-high peak, how magical! Conan exclaimed. She also looked back at the Raikage behind her, and sure enough, he just glanced at her and didn't follow. It seems the Whitebeard pirates have brought a lot of pressure to the civilians and ninjas of Hidden Cloud's village. Within a few hundred meters of this ship, there aren't many people who dare to approach. This led to her becoming the most eye-catching person, because she was the only one heading straight for the pirate ship. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out beside her. "May I ask who you are?" Conan's pupils contracted. This sudden voice made all the muscles in her body tense up. She resisted the impulse to act and turned her head to see a somewhat familiar face next to her. Shizue of the Body Flicker. The person who appeared next to her was indeed Shizue Uchiha. No wonder she didn't notice his presence at first. The Shizue of the Body Flicker of Hidden Leaf Village was indeed well deserved. Even without his 2 eyes, the speed of his teleportation technique was incredibly fast. "You recognize my face?" Shizue smiled and said. "That means you're not an ordinary person, you must be a ninja with good information, right?" Hearing Shizue's question, Conan breathed a sigh of relief in her heart, which meant that he didn't know her purpose. For a moment, she thought that before she had even taken action, the Whitebeard pirates already knew what she wanted to do. Conan spoke in a somewhat cold tone. "I want to meet the captain of your Whitebeard pirates, Edward Newgate." Shizue was a bit surprised. "You want to see Pops? Are you from Hidden Cloud's village?" Conan shook her head. "No." The next moment, she said something shocking. "I'm from Akatsuki." Shizue. Conan's self-introduction indeed shocked Shizue. He didn't expect that the passerby he casually stopped was actually from the Akatsuki. Click. Shizue's thumb pressed against the hilt of his sword, and the blade of the sword had already left the sheath by an inch. Because for the Whitebeard pirates, the Akatsuki is their enemy. Obito Uchiha from the Akatsuki not only provoked Pops multiple times, wanted to kill Kakashi, but was also one of the culprits behind the Uchiha massacre. Moreover, this person is very likely Naruto's enemy, who killed his parents. Naturally. Parents refers to Naruto's biological parents, not Whitebeard. And Itachi Uchiha, who almost killed the entire Uchiha clan, also joined the Akatsuki. How could the Whitebeard pirates not regard the Akatsuki as an enemy? Please don't misunderstand. I'm not here to cause trouble. Conan glanced at the sword in Shizue's hand and explained. If I were here to cause trouble, I wouldn't appear in front of you so openly. Shizue sorted out his fluctuating emotions and said frankly. Maybe this is your deliberate attempt to make us relax our guard? Conan calmly said. If you don't trust me, you can put your sword on my neck and escort me. That should put you at ease, right? Click. The blade of the sword, which was an inch out of the sheath, returned to the sheath, and Shizue said. No need, in front of Pops, even if you have any schemes, you won't be able to stir up any waves. He walked side by side with Conan, and the two of them headed towards Moby Dick. Although Shizue didn't have his eyes, his observation hockey had been locked onto Conan. Once this woman from the Akatsuki made any move, he would not hesitate to act. In the dictionary of ninjas, there is no distinction between men and women. Even though Shizue is no longer a ninja now, he still adheres to this principle. He wouldn't show mercy to women. If they threatened the Whitebeard pirates, he wouldn't mind sending them to the underworld. Huh? Brother Shizue, who was this lady? Izumi Uchiha was the first to see Shizue and Conan, and she asked curiously. Shizue stopped in his tracks and responded. She claims to be from the Akatsuki, and she wants to see Pops. Akatsuki? Izumi Uchiha's eyes widened, and her 3 Tomoe Sharingan instinctively activated. But thinking that Brother Shizue was here, there seemed to be no need to overreact. Izumi frowned. An Akatsuki member, coming to us voluntarily. There wouldn't be any of her companions nearby, would there? In Hidden Cloud's village, I am alone. Conan replied. You may not believe it, but that's the truth. What a rare guest. An Akatsuki member. TSK, why don't I see you wearing that black robe with red clouds? Kisame somehow walked behind Izumi Uchiha. He was carrying the large sword Seimata, his gaze freely sizing up Conan in front of him. Conan explained. That's because the clothes are too conspicuous. If I appeared in Hidden Cloud's village wearing those clothes, I would have a conflict with the ninjas of Hidden Clouds Village before I even saw you, the Whitebeard pirates. Behind Conan, Kakashi also appeared, blocking her retreat. Kakashi's attention seemed to be all on the small book in his hand, but he said, "You guys really don't give up, do you? How many days have passed? We meet again." Naruto, Sasuke, Karen, and others, seeing this, also curiously walked over. When they learned of Conan's identity from Kakashi and the others, their eyes all widened. A living Akatsuki member just appeared in front of them like this. The other party even appeared openly. Could it be that the people of the Whitebeard pirates who had repeatedly hit the Akatsuki hard, hadn't hurt them enough? The pirates were all looking at Conan. Conan was also looking at them. Hoshigaki Kisame, Kakashi Hatake, Shizue Uchiha, Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki clan. Conan squinted her eyes. This was really a luxurious lineup. Even without Whitebeard, just this group of people together, placed in the ninja world, was a very powerful team. She found that most of the crew of the Whitebeard pirates were from Hidden Leaf Village. It seemed that Hidden Leaf Village had been poached by Whitebeard a lot. When Conan first infiltrated Hidden Leaf Village, she didn't go to the Whitebeard pirates' temporary base to find out what was going on. Because it was too dangerous there, if she went, she might not be able to come back. And this time she came here alone, finally seeing the complete Whitebeard pirates. On the other side. Yesterday, Tsunade, who had a hangover from attending Kamimaru's welcome party for joining the Whitebeard pirates, wanted to get some fresh air on the deck after getting up, and found that something seemed to have happened. What's going on? What's going on? Tsunade, with a heart full of gossip and curiosity, couldn't help but squeeze in. Tsunade's gaze immediately fell on Conan's face. Coincidentally, Conan's gaze also met hers. At the same time, both Tsunade and Conan were stunned. Tsunade touched her chin, her gaze becoming extremely suspicious. She muttered, "Why do I feel like you look familiar? Have I seen you somewhere before?" "Really?" This led to Conan suppressing the shock that surged in her heart. She forcefully calmed herself and said, "But in my memory, Tsunade Haim of the Sannin of Hidden Leaf Village, was the first I saw with my own eyes. Before, I had only seen your photos and portraits in some intelligence reports." Conan's tone was very calm, but the waves in her heart were tumultuous. How could Tsunade be in the Whitebeard pirates? Looking at Kisame and their reactions, they didn't seem to be shocked by Tsunade's presence. That means Tsunade has been with the Whitebeard pirates for a long time. Could it be that Tsunade, one of the Sannin, also joined the Whitebeard pirates and became a member of the Whitebeard pirates? If such a prominent figure joins the pirate crew, does that mean the strength of the Whitebeard pirates has risen another level? What kind of man is Whitebeard? He actually made Tsunade, the princess of Hidden Leaf Village, become a pirate? Conan found it incredible. The key is, in fact, she had seen Tsunade with her own eyes, but that was when she was very young. It was when she was in Hidden Rain Village. If Tsunade recognizes her, that would be troublesome. It seems like I've seen a somewhat familiar face. The voice from Orochimaru made Conan's pupils contract. Chapter 288, Conan's Gamble. Whitebeard and Conan. Some time ago, two members of the Akatsuki disappeared. After those two members disappeared, there was no news of them, as if they had disappeared in the ninja world, which made Conan think. Did they already die at the hands of Whitebeard? If they really died, then it was indeed the most severe loss for the Akatsuki in the past 2 or 3 years. And this heavy loss was caused by the Whitebeard pirates. But what Conan didn't expect was that one of the two missing members, Orochimaru, suddenly appeared in front of her. When she turned her head towards the direction of the snake-like voice, she saw Orochimaru appearing in a female body form. Even though Conan's mentality was as calm as water, at this moment, she still couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes a bit, her pupils slightly contracted. So Orochimaru wasn't killed by Whitebeard, he's still alive. And this guy is on the Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirates. What's even more surprising is that Orochimaru on this ship is just like a person who has nothing to do. Tsunade also looked at Orochimaru. "Do you recognize her?" Orochimaru walked over unhurriedly. He answered with a somewhat ambiguous smile. "I'm very familiar with her." Orochimaru continued to say. "In the Akatsuki, this woman's status is not low, second only to the leader." When his words fell, the people around were all very shocked. Hey. So, she is a big fish? Kisame's palm was on the hilt of the great sword Seimata, his eyes slightly squinted, with a bit of caution. With such a special identity, they naturally can't treat her as an ordinary member of the Akatsuki. "Conan, I didn't expect to see you here, what a coincidence." Orochimaru stretched out his long tongue and licked his dry lips. The white tiger in his mouth was Conan's code name. "Orochimaru, you really surprised me." Conan was silent for a few seconds. She could only squeeze out this sentence. Obviously, Orochimaru's sudden appearance caught her off guard. This was beyond Conan's plan and her expectations. The situation seemed to be getting a bit complicated, making her feel a bit out of control. Hee, there's something even more surprising for you. Orochimaru laughed wantonly. Sasori is also here. Conan. Orochimaru kindly explained. Actually, we didn't really betray the Akatsuki, we were just captured by the Whitebeard pirates and couldn't escape. What I mean is, Sasori and I are their prisoners. The moment I saw you, I thought you wanted to rescue us, but now it seems that's not the case. Conan was shocked at Orochimaru's appearance, and Orochimaru was also curious as to why Conan would come to this place. This woman came here alone and approached the Whitebeard pirates. What was her purpose? Gorrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr chair, overlooking the group of silly sons and daughters in front of him. With Whitebeard's observation hockey, he could naturally see what was happening in front of him, and with his hearing, he could know what they were saying, and he could even see the little brat from the Akatsuki. You little brat from the Akatsuki, are you trying to provoke the Whitebeard pirates? After taking a sip of wine from his jug, Whitebeard squinted his eyes and said with a hearty smile. Conan took a deep breath, suppressing the shock in her heart, and looked at Whitebeard, who was sitting at the bow of the Moby Dick. She first said to the people around her, "My visit is not malicious, let me go and say a few words with Whitebeard Dono, should be okay, right?" Having said that, she made a move to walk forward. The next second, the large sword Seimata was directly placed on her shoulder, the barbs on Seimata's body pressed against Conan's throat. And on her other shoulder, a cane sword was held against it. Obviously Shizue had suddenly drawn his weapon, and the blade of the cane sword was also against her throat. Her back was pressed against a kunai, just a few inches forward, and it could pierce her heart. Obviously Kakashi was holding the kunai against her. Kisame grinned. "We won't let you use any tricks on Pops. If you make any moves, we will kill you. Let's go." Conan's heart sank. These guys were indeed difficult to deal with. She knew Hoshigaki Kisame was not joking, and she knew this was not a meaningless warning. But she wasn't too afraid of this kind of physical attack. She kept her face unchanged, step by step, until she came to Whitebeard, only 2 meters away from Whitebeard. At this distance, she could see Whitebeard's face when she looked up. To be honest, although the Akatsuki had repeatedly received information about Whitebeard and had seen pictures and portraits of Whitebeard, this was the first time Conan had seen this man's face in person. The aura emanating from him was quite surprising to Conan. His physique was even more daunting to the naked eye. "Whitebeard Dono," Conan pondered. "According to the information we have on you, you have a very special perception ability. This special perception ability of yours should be able to feel that I have no malice in me." Whitebeard glanced at Conan with his hollow eyes, his tone somewhat domineering. "You little brat, if you have something to say it straight, don't beat around the bush." Conan's words choked, and the previous organized remarks were interrupted. She could only give up the prepared remarks and went straight to the point. "Whitebeard, to be honest, I have a piece of information about you that I think you will be interested in. Even, you can feel very angry about this information. If this information is spoken out, I will definitely be labeled as a traitor, but we Akatsuki do not want to be hostile to the Whitebeard pirates. Even if I will be labeled as such, I want to prevent this from happening." Conan continued. "Whitebeard, you should know that in our organization, there is a person who calls himself Madara Uchiha." Just as Conan's words were spoken, Kakashi's voice came in. "Madara Uchiha? Is it the guy with the spiral mask?" Conan responded. "Yes." Kakashi's tone was complicated. "Is it related to Obito again?" Conan was slightly stunned. Obito? A strange name made Conan a little unexpected. She didn't know what this name had to do with Uchiha Madara. Kakashi also frowned, a little confused. "Don't you know that Madara Uchiha is Obito Uchiha?" "Conan? Obito Uchiha? Madara Uchiha?" But the strange information learned from the pirate's mouth almost made her whole person almost crash. Could it be that the guy who claimed to be Madara Uchiha, his real name is actually Obito Uchiha? In a short moment, Conan almost forgot what she came here for. Just listening to Kakashi's voice again, and with a tone of urgency and questioning. What's wrong with Obito? Is he brewing some kind of conspiracy? Could it be that everyone knows that Madara Uchiha is Obito Uchiha, and only Akatsuki didn't know about it? Conan flashed this thought in her mind, but soon she threw this idea behind her, because now is not the time to think about this problem. The current situation has far exceeded her expectations. She could only respond with a complex expression. Madara Uchiha captured people related to the Whitebeard pirates. He wants to use them as hostages to threaten you Whitebeard pirates. Conan's mentality gradually stabilized, and she slowly said. The ones he caught are 4 kids, one is called Haruno Sakura, one is called Narashikimaru, one is called Akimeki Chaji, and one is called Rock Lee. What? Naruto and Ino almost exclaimed in unison. Naruto's face was full of shock and incredulity. Shikimaru, Chaji, Lee, were they caught by that guy called Obito? Ino was dumbfounded. Chaji and Shikimaru, were they caught? Were they taken hostage? Oh? Whitebeard raised his eyebrows, and there was a bit of chill in his eyes. This little brat who borrows others' names to do evil, his methods are really insidious and despicable. Even if the Whitebeard pirates caught hostages, they would not use hostages to threaten others. For example, in a battle some time ago, the Whitebeard pirates did not take the 4th Raikage as a hostage to threaten the ninjas of Hidden Cloud's village. They just showed the 4th Raikage to let the ninjas of Hidden Cloud's village see what their Raikage is like now. The method of using hostages to threaten others is very despicable in Whitebeard's eyes. The one being threatened was actually the Whitebeard pirate crew, which stirred up a surge of killing intent and anger in Whitebeard's heart. A faint conqueror's haki leaked from Whitebeard, affecting Conan, who was closest to him. Conan only felt a terrifying aura pressing down on her, making her feel as if a huge boulder was pressing on her heart, making her feel a bit uncomfortable. Such a terrifying aura. Is this the aura he used to feint thousands of Hidden Cloud's village ninjas? It's like a humanoid tailed beast, even more terrifying than a tailed beast. Conan was horrified, but she tried not to show her emotions on her face. Conan said, I revealed this information to the Whitebeard pirate crew for 2 reasons. One is to prevent the Akatsuki organization from being implicated by that guy's actions. The second is that I am showing goodwill to the Whitebeard pirate crew and to you, Whitebeard Dano. I want to use this special information, and the life of Madaruchi has a letter of recommendation, to join the Whitebeard pirate crew. Conan said seriously without mincing her words. He. Really? Orochimaru was shocked by Conan's words. He murmured with interest. The second in command of the Akatsuki organization wants to leave the Akatsuki and join the Whitebeard pirate crew. Isn't that a bit strange? Conan retorted. You're wrong. Joining the Whitebeard pirate crew and being a member of the Akatsuki organization, there's actually no conflict in between, right? The Akatsuki organization may have had some conflicts with the Whitebeard pirate crew before, but those are individual conflicts with the pirate crew. At least, I have no conflicts with the Whitebeard pirate crew. What is your purpose? Naruto asked with a frown. Someone like you wants to join our Whitebeard pirate crew, you must be up to no good. Conan glanced at this Night-Tail's Jinchuriki, she calmly said. I want to use your power to kill Madaruchi Ha, is that considered to be up to no good? Shizue said. When you revealed Obito's information to us, didn't you already achieve your goal? Why do you need to join us? Why join the Whitebeard pirate crew? Conan said. I want to be by your side, to see what your purpose really is. You've stirred up so many waves in the ninja world, I don't believe that the purpose of your pirate crew is that simple. Conan was very honest, almost bluntly saying, I just want to infiltrate the Whitebeard pirate crew, and I want to use Obito's information as an exchange. This is the entry point Conan thought of. Conan doesn't know much about the Whitebeard pirate crew, but not too little either. Looking at the many events the Whitebeard pirate crew has caused in the ninja world, the only characteristic of the Whitebeard pirate crew is that they are very upright. They are clearly a pirate crew, but they do things that are more upright than any ninja village. If she wants to infiltrate such an organization, careful planning and fabricating lies are actually useless. Especially since Whitebeard has that strange perception ability, maybe this ability can sense whether she is lying or not. In this case, Conan decided to be straightforward and focus on a trade. She thinks this is a kind of open plot. But she also knows that if the Whitebeard pirate crew is ruthless enough, not caring about the safety of those 4 kids, then her open plot will have no effect. Maybe she will be left here and can't go back. Conan is taking a gamble. She feels that for the future of the Akatsuki organization, a gamble that stakes her life is worth it. Whitebeard's smile on his face carried a hint of danger. So that is your purpose that makes you want to join my Whitebeard pirate? Conan, under the pressure of the Conqueror's haki leaking from Whitebeard, forced herself to look up and meet Whitebeard's gaze. Even if this aura suppressed her to the point where her palms were sweating. But Conan still maintained her composure. Yes. She said these 2 words decisively. There was a certain honesty in her determination. Gorrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr you little ninja brats, each of you really has ideas. You're also one of the few honest brats I've seen in the ninja world. Whitebeard grinned and said, Kid, what's your name? Conan. Conan didn't make up a fake name for herself, There was no need to lie to a man like Whitebeard. Gorrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Chapter 289, Whitebeard Pirates Obito Uchiha Hunting Operation. Today, I received a very important piece of news from his Anbu members. The Whitebeard Pirates were about to leave Hidden Clouds Village. The Moby Dick, which was docked on the edge of Hidden Clouds Village, had already turned its bow. Upon hearing this news, I immediately became excited. Those pirates, who were very annoying in his eyes, were finally going to leave Hidden Clouds Village. I felt that if Whitebeard and his crew stayed in Hidden Clouds Village for a few more days, he really wouldn't be able to hold back his temper and would start another fight with them. After all, allowing a group of pirates to wreak havoc in the village, causing the entire village to be filled with pirate flags. This was an unprecedented humiliation for him, the fourth Raikage. In the entire ninja world, perhaps only the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, of Hidden Leaf Village could tolerate such humiliation, right? Humphrey. The fourth Raikage had an unhappy expression on his face. With only one arm left, he snorted coldly. After staying in Hidden Clouds Village for so long, these guys are finally willing to leave. After they leave, take down all the pirate flags in the village. I issued such an order. But as soon as he finished speaking, an elder of the Hidden Clouds Village higher-ups next to him changed his face and hurriedly advised, "Raikage-sama, please don't." I frowned, looked at the elder of the Hidden Clouds Village higher-ups, and asked with suppressed anger, "Why? Give me a reason." The elder of Hidden Clouds Village explained, "Raikage-sama. What if the Whitebeard pirates suddenly turn back halfway, especially that Whitebeard? What if he sees that the pirate flags are gone? In that case, Whitebeard, a pirate who likes to act recklessly, will definitely make a big fuss in Hidden Clouds Village. There are many children and civilians in the village." The fourth Raikage widened his eyes and raised his voice, "Are we just going to let those pirate flags flutter in the sky above the village? Is our Hidden Clouds Village still called Hidden Clouds Village?" The elder of Hidden Clouds Village sighed and said, "Raikage-sama, sometimes you have to bow your head. If you don't, the village will be gone." Hearing this, A's anger was almost visible to the naked eye. The chakra surging from his body caused several obvious cracks to appear on the floor under his feet. While the Whitebeard pirates were in Hidden Clouds Village, he, the fourth Raikage, had to suppress his own personality and forcibly endure it. Even after the Whitebeard pirates left Hidden Clouds Village, he, the fourth Raikage, still had to endure it. Didn't that mean the Whitebeard pirates got away scot-free? How could he accept this? I wished he could resign now. Whoever likes to be this damn Raikage, just go ahead and be it. Raikage-sama, don't forget that Whitebeard once said that Hidden Clouds Village is now one of the affiliated ninja villages of the Whitebeard pirate crew. Whether we are willing to accept this shameful title or not, in Whitebeard's eyes, our village is their vassal." The elder of Hidden Clouds Village said bitterly. "If Raikage-sama really can't bear it, shall we take a more compromising approach?" "Is there a compromising approach?" A's anger stagnated, and he asked in a deep voice. "What method? Speak." The elder of Hidden Clouds Village thought for a while and replied. "How about we take down most of the pirate flags in the village, and then leave the one on the Raikage building?" The fourth Raikage almost exploded with anger. He glared at the elder of Hidden Clouds Village. "Is this your so-called compromising method?" The elder of Hidden Clouds Village quietly said. "Raikage-sama, you should know that if it wasn't for your impulsiveness at the beginning, chasing after the Whitebeard pirate crew alone." "Enough." I held his breath and said. "Just do it your way." Because Hidden Clouds Village has ended up in such a situation, it indeed has a lot to do with him as the Raikage. Even, his responsibility is the biggest. On the other side, Moby Dick. The news that the fourth Raikage got was indeed accurate. The Whitebeard pirate crew was about to leave Hidden Clouds Village. Their goal was not to find the next tailed beast. The pirate crew's goal was to find Obito Uchiha. At this moment, Conan was observing the entire Whitebeard pirate crew on Moby Dick without any scruples. She was very openly undercover. Because she joined the Whitebeard pirate crew in a way of trade. Everyone in the entire pirate crew knew that her motives were not pure, so no one was willing to approach Conan. Of course, for Conan, this was expected. While wandering around the ship, Conan suddenly bumped into a person that she didn't expect. Rather than saying that it was a person, it was more like a talking puppet. This puppet reminded her of someone. "Are you Saisari?" Conan's face was as cold as ever, but there was a bit of surprise in her eyes that she couldn't hide. She looked up and down at Saisari in front of her. "I'm not, you got the wrong person," Saisari coldly replied. "Orochimaru told me that you were also captured by the pirate crew," Conan said. You and him seem to be quite comfortable in the pirate crew. TSK. Don't lump me together with that disgusting guy. Sasori lowered his voice and gritted his teeth. Once my new body is ready, I will escape from this place. At that time, I will make a new anti-Whitebeard puppet type too. As for you, Sasori said, your behavior is considered as betraying the members of the organization, right? If your behavior is exposed, TSK, the entire Akatsuki organization will fall apart. Conan shook her head. What I'm doing is exactly for the sake of Akatsuki. Madara Uchiha's actions have seriously threatened Akatsuki. He must not stay. If one day I threaten you, will I also have to be killed by you? Sasori squinted his eyes. As a result, this crudely made puppet, along with his facial movements, his eyes popped out. Sasori was so angry that he picked up his eyeballs while cursing, and forcibly stuffed it back into the eye socket. If you threaten us, I won't kill you. But if you threaten the Akatsuki organization, I will indeed eliminate you. Conan said expressionlessly. You need to distinguish the relationship between the two. TSK, it's really like entering two dens of thieves. Sasori complained a bit irritably. These two dens of thieves refer to the Akatsuki organization and the Whitebeard pirate crew. Conan, however, spoke calmly. On the contrary, if you don't pose a threat to the Akatsuki, we will consider you a teammate we can trust with our lives. She paused, then continued. The will of the Akatsuki we told you about when you joined us has not changed to this day. And what I'm doing now is carrying out that will. You just need to understand that. Sasori looked deeply at Conan. Then he ignored Conan. The next moment, a childish shout rang out. It was Naruto's voice. Whitebeard pirates. Moby Dick. Set sail. Destination, Land of Rain. Everyone hold on to something solid. Next, don't get thrown off. Ha ha ha. With Naruto's shout, Kisame grinned. Water style, land boat technique. A large stream of water emerged from under the Moby Dick, lifting the entire ship. Hey, hey, hey. Kakashi widened his eyes. The bow is facing the cliff. You guys aren't thinking of going down from here, are you? Naruto grinned and laughed. That's why I told everyone to hold on to something. Gorara. Whitebeard laughed loudly. As expected of my stupid son, you really know how to make a mess. In that case, let's just go straight down. Kakashi was stunned. Pops, you're also going to join Naruto in this mess? Hidden Clouds Village is located at the top of a kilometer-high mountain. Rushing down from here is a vertical drop of a kilometer. Whitebeard, holding Murakamagiri, laughed loudly. Gorara. Stupid son, never underestimate Moby Dick. My old Moby Dick once fell from Sky Island and was unscathed. Conan watched the commotion and had a feeling that something big was about to happen. Sure enough. She noticed that the ship under her feet started to move, and its direction was straight towards the cliff. Conan's cool expression couldn't help but change slightly. What are they trying to do? Are they planning to rush down? It seemed to confirm her guess. Moby Dick really rushed towards the cliff without fear. In just 3 breaths, the entire ship was completely suspended in the air. At this moment, Conan's breath almost stopped. These pirates were too crazy, weren't they? What were they thinking? Conan had almost no time to think. The entire ship began to fall. Conan immediately used Dance of the Shikigami. Her body floated up like a piece of paper. Her skin and flesh also turned into paper. Then, she grabbed the railing next to her and followed Moby Dick down. Conan counted 20 seconds in her heart. Bang! There was a crazy tremor from Moby Dick under her feet, the creaking sound from the planks. She didn't know if the ship was wailing or excited. There were also shouts and screams from Moby Dick, followed by the excited shouts of a group of pirates. Ha 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 ha. We did it. Not a scratch. Naruto excitedly rushed to the bow, looked down, then looked up. This splash is at least several hundred meters high. Ha ha ha. Kisame slowly stood up and laughed. Ha, don't underestimate my land boat technique. It can not only make Moby Dick sail on land, but it can also protect the hull of Moby Dick from being damaged by hard objects. Kakashi wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and complained. Before you two start messing around, can you give me a heads up so I can prepare? Ha ha ha. Next time, definitely next time. Naruto responded perfunctorily to Kakashi. Conan's body returned to normal. While she breathed a sigh of relief, she was also quietly observing Naruto, Kakashi, and others. She found that the relationship between the members of the Whitebeard pirate crew was harmonious to an absurd degree. The bond between them is not simply a bond between pirates, nor is it simply a bond between partners. This bond is vastly different from their Akatsuki organization. It is a bond of family and home. Ironically, this bond, which seems naive and childish in the ninja world, exists in the Whitebeard pirate crew, and it is real, not fake. Conan's face was somewhat complex. She didn't know how to evaluate it. Chapter 290, Despair. The arrival of the Whitebeard pirate crew. Strange. Wasn't it said that the Whitebeard pirate crew was in Hidden Clouds village? Why can't I see any pirates? I also didn't see that exaggerated big ship of the Whitebeard pirate crew. When a white Zetsu clone appeared in Hidden Clouds village, he found that besides a group of Hidden Clouds village ninjas and civilians, there were no other special strange characters in Hidden Clouds village. The task Obito gave him was to send a challenge letter to the Whitebeard pirate crew. The so-called challenge letter is actually to let the Whitebeard pirate crew exchange Kakashi Hatake's life for the lives of those 4 kids. This is the only choice Obito gave to the Whitebeard pirate crew. If the Whitebeard pirate crew ignores him, then he will first kill a kid and bring the kid's head to them to see. At that time, if the Whitebeard pirate crew continues to ignore, he, Obito Uchiha, will kill another kid. With Obito's understanding of the Whitebeard pirate crew and Kakashi, he is very clear that those pirates will not sit idly by and watch those 4 kids slowly die. Could it be that the information Obito gave me was wrong? The Whitebeard pirate crew is not in Hidden Clouds village at all, but in other places? Then didn't I make a trip for nothing? If it's in other places, where is it? Can the information Obito gave be a little more reliable? Really? The expression on the white Zetsu clone was a bit strange. He shook his head helplessly. He had already walked around Hidden Clouds village several times and found nothing, which means it's definitely not his problem. Forget it, I'll go back and tell him. After muttering a sentence, the body of the white Zetsu clone slowly drilled into the ground and quickly disappeared without a trace. Half a month later. Land of Rain. Did you remember the battle plan I told you? Shikamaru lowered his voice and said to the 3 people in front of him. I'll reiterate it again, lest you forget the details of the plan. We first lure that faceless guy in, and then I use the shadow imitation technique to control him. My shadow imitation technique can't control him for too long, it might be 5 seconds, or even 1 second. This means that when I make a gesture, or even before I use the shadow imitation technique, you guys have to take action. Remember, Lee goes first. Lee, you try your best to attack every vital part of his body, especially the throat and crotch, to ensure that at least 2 vital parts are attacked in an instant. Remember, don't be soft, don't have a compassionate heart, we are all ninja school students, we will all become ninjas in the future, don't be afraid of accidentally killing the other party. Lee's pair of thick eyebrows on his eyes trembled, he nodded heavily, and his nose snorted heavily. I understand. Lee immediately said. Shush. Keep it down. Shikamaru quickly reminded Lee, then turned to Sakura and said. Sakura, the moment Lee makes his move, don't join us. You run, as fast as you can. The sound of heavy rain outside has been constant, indicating that this is a place where it rains all year round. As long as you run 300 meters away, the human eye won't be able to see you. This also means that beyond 300 meters is a safe zone, but don't stop, keep running until you're exhausted. Haruno Sakura's face showed a hint of nervousness. She also nodded, but hesitated and said. But what if I can't run that fast? Then we'll have to die here. Shikamaru said expressionlessly. It's okay for us 3 boys, but for a cute girl like you, if you encounter a pervert. Upon hearing this, Sakura's face turned pale instantly. Thinking of the scene of encountering a pervert, her body was trembling, she hurriedly said. I will definitely try my best. She didn't want to fall into the hands of a pervert. Finally, it's Chaji. Shikamaru paused, then continued in a deep voice. Among the 4 of us, the one with the strongest attack power is Chaji, because his family's secret technique is multi-size jutsu. He can enlarge parts of his body, and his strength will increase accordingly, able to crush the enemy with 1 blow. When Lee and I hold off the enemy, Chaji must give the enemy a heavy blow. Not to kill the enemy, but at least to immobilize the enemy for a short time, at least to hold him off for a few seconds. Chaji swallowed hard. I'll try. Chaji said weakly. No, you can't say you'll try. Shikamaru shook his head. You must do it, and I firmly believe you can do it, because you definitely have the talent for it. Chaji's eyes lit up. Do I really have such talent? Shikamaru, you're not lying to me, are you? Shikamaru rolled his eyes. At a time of life and death, how could I possibly lie to you? The 4 of them had not been idle these days, nor had they been discouraged. They had been secretly making plans. Even if they had guessed that this place might not be Hidden Leaf Village, or even Land of Fire, they still wanted to escape. They couldn't just sit and wait for death, because the consequence of sitting and waiting for death is death. Since staying here is death, and running out is also death, it's better to give it a shot, even if only 1 person can escape. Shikamaru's plan is simple. It's for him, Chaji, and Lee to hold off the faceless man, and then Sakura runs out to ask for help. In other words, they are about to risk their lives. Shikamaru's face was very heavy, and there was a hint of helpless bitterness. There was no way, they were forced to do this. Although he usually finds this troublesome and that troublesome, but once he encounters danger, sitting and waiting for death is not his style. Shikamaru listened carefully to the noise outside. He found that when the sound of rain started to get louder, it meant that the opportunity was coming. Start. With Shikamaru's low shout, Sakura immediately picked up a stone from the ground and knocked hard on the iron cell door, making a bang-bang sound. Is anyone there? Is anyone there? My stomach hurts so much. Someone come. Come. Just as Sakura was shouting at the top of her lungs, a sudden figure made Sakura's shout pause. Obito Uchiha, dressed in a black robe with red clouds, walked over slowly. The one eye that Obito revealed fell on Sakura. Even without activating the Sharingan, the immense pressure still made Sakura break out in a cold sweat. Obito's appearance also made Sakura lose her composure. Because the target and plan of the four of them was to deal with Tobi. After all, they had only seen Tobi these days. They knew Tobi had a companion, but they thought this companion was not here, but who would have thought the other party appeared? Shikamaru was also stunned for a moment. But the plan had already been made. He knew better than anyone the saying of strike while the iron is hot, definitely not to give up halfway. Shikamaru immediately backed up Sakura, angrily questioning Obito, who was wearing a mask. Hey! Was there poison in the food you gave us yesterday? What are you trying to do? She's been in pain all night. Sakura's face was as pale as paper, and with the cold sweat scared out of her, it really looked like something was wrong. Obito frowned. He glanced at Shikamaru, Chaji, Lee, and then turned his gaze on Sakura. Seeing this wide-foreheaded little girl who was sweating profusely, Obito didn't know why he thought of Nohara-rin again. Humphrey. He snorted coldly in a hoarse voice. It's just a stomachache, you little brats are making such a fuss, as if you're about to die. Obito didn't want to deal with these little brats, he turned around and wanted to leave. He was in a bad mood recently. Because the White Zetsuclone he sent out to challenge the Whitebeard pirate crew came back a while ago and told him that the Whitebeard pirate crew was not in Hidden Clouds village at all. That is to say, the Whitebeard pirate crew had already left Hidden Clouds village, and he didn't know where they were going. In addition, Hidden Clouds village has a dense network of rivers, and Moby Dick could indeed trace them if it kept sailing on land. But once Moby Dick sails down a river for a short time, it's hard to find its trace. Obito lost the whereabouts of the Whitebeard pirate crew. This made him feel that he had caught a bunch of little devils for nothing. He originally wanted to threaten the Whitebeard pirate crew with these little kids. Or rather, to threaten Kakashi. But in the end, he couldn't find anyone. Hold on. Even if she just has a stomachache, she should be allowed to go out and deal with it, right? Shikamaru hurriedly shouted loudly. What if she does it here? Shikamaru continued. That faceless guy, when we say we need to go to the bathroom, he always takes us out. At this point, Shikamaru's face turned red. Because that strange pervert, for some reason, always likes to stare at him when he's relieving himself. But Shikamaru couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't always hold it in, could he? Obito paused, turned around and said coldly. Only this little brat is allowed to come out, you three back up and stick to the wall. He took out a key from his bosom and unlocked the big lock on the prison door. Obito grabbed Haruno Sakura by the back of her collar, lifted her up, and directly carried Sakura out. Seeing Sakura trembling all over, as if she was enduring something, Obito straightened his hand a bit, letting Sakura stay a bit further from him. He frowned and warned her. Hold it in for a minute, if you dare to do it in front of me, I'll kill you. But just as Obito's words fell, Shikamaru suddenly put his hands together, gritted his teeth and shouted. Shadow imitation technique. Obito. To be honest, Obito really didn't expect that these little kids would dare to attack him. The shadow on the ground that had been ready to go, spread to Obito's feet like a spear thrust in an instant. In an instant, Obito found himself unable to move. TSK. But obviously, there was no panic on Obito's face, he said coldly. Little kids, you are looking for death. He just moved his foot and broke free from Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique. The secret technique of the family was so easily broken free. This made Shikamaru's eyes widen. He found that the gap between the other party and these children was not ordinary. Damn, he underestimated the enemy. He thought that he could at least control the other party for a second, but now he found that he couldn't even control for a second. This unexpected scene also left Lee and Chaji stunned, unsure whether to take action. Shikamaru looked helpless. The plan had failed. There was no chance left. Drip dot drip. A sound of water suddenly rang out, and the one eye that Obito had exposed trembled slightly, because he found that his instep was being doused with a warm stream. His sclera was filled with 2 streaks of blood, and he looked at Haruno Sakura, whom he was holding, with gritted teeth and squeezed out a sentence. You peed on my foot. The enemy's kunai and shuriken couldn't touch him, Obito Uchiha, at all. But the little brat who couldn't hold it and peed on his instep. It almost broke Obito's guard. He swung hard and threw Sakura onto the wall on the spot. With a muffled bang, Sakura almost passed out. Hidden Leaf Village Rising Egg Wind. Lee moved. Although, the previous moment of confusion made him miss the best opportunity, but he still made a move now, because he saw his comrade being hurt. Lee felt like his foot seemed to touch the other's clothes. His childish face was full of excitement. Good opportunity. Chaji. Follow the plan. Seeing this, Shikamaru decided to make the best of a bad situation and hurriedly shouted to Chaji. Ninjutsu multi-size jutsu. Wait, that's not right. But at this moment, Lee found that the touch on his instep was gone, and he kicked empty space. He watched as his groin kick passed through Obito's body. Lee was dumbfounded. But obviously, his warning was too late. Because Chaji, whose hands had suddenly grown larger, had already made a sumo wrestler's move and pushed towards Obito. Chaji also pushed empty air. His palms hit the wall on one side of Obito hard, and a huge palm made a hole in the wall, causing the entire cell to shake violently, and dust and rubble kept falling down. It's easy to see that the secret technique of the Akimaki clan is indeed powerful. No wonder Shikamaru wanted Chaji to give the enemy a fatal blow. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Can't hit? Chaji was dumbfounded. Little brats, you've really pissed me off. Obito's one eye was clouded over, and the warm, moist feeling on his instep made Obito extremely uncomfortable. He coldly glanced at Shikamaru, Chaji, and Lee, and his eye turned into a 3 Tomoe Sharingan. Immerse yourselves in the endless pain of the Sharingan Ganjutsu. He cast the Sharingan Ganjutsu on the 3 little brats. He didn't care at all whether these little brats of this age could bear it. Whitebeard played me, Kakashi played me, now you little brats want to play me too. Humphrey. What do you think I am? A clown in a circus? Obito forcibly suppressed his killing intent. Because now is not the time to kill these 4 little brats. They still have a big use. Little brat, if you don't want to die, lick your pee clean for me. Obito turned his head to look at Sakura. However, he was stunned. Where's the person? In Obito's line of sight, he could only see a small pool of blood on the ground. It should be the blood that Sakura spat out from her mouth when he just threw Sakura away. Obito's expression instantly became extremely ugly. Until this moment, he suddenly realized that the pee that almost broke his guard just now might also be in the plan of these little brats. He was actually played by a group of little brats. Damn little brats. Obito immediately locked the cell door again. Then, without hesitation, he used a Kemyu to phase through the wall and walked out. Looking around, you could see that there was a large forest in front of him, and the prison was built in the middle of a forest. Above was a gloomy sky, with heavy rain falling down, splashing up clumps of mud. The ground was very muddy, and there were puddles everywhere. Obito only needed to look down to see a shallow set of footprints leading off into the distance. Damn it, Toby just happened to be not here. Huff. Huff. It hurts. Haruno Sakura, who was only 7 years old, ran desperately in the rain. After running only a few hundred meters, she was already panting. Because she was thrown against the wall by Obito, her delicate body must have been injured. She held her left rib, and Sakura could clearly feel that one of her ribs seemed to be broken. Because when her palm touched there was an empty spot. The intense pain made her breathing more and more difficult, and the rain falling from the sky was like someone pouring water from the sky. The cold rain made Sakura's body lose heat quickly. Fatigue, cold, pain, fear, anxiety. All kinds of negative conditions were all added to her small body, slowing down Sakura's running speed. Cough cough cough. As Sakura was running for her life and covering her mouth to cough, she looked down and saw that her palm was stained with blood. Sakura, who had just entered the ninja school for less than a year, although she didn't have much medical knowledge, she could probably understand that there must be something wrong with her internal organs. Her consciousness also began to become blurred. She tripped over a vine in the forest under her feet, rolled several times on the muddy ground, and barely got up. She wiped the mud and water off her face. When she looked up, Sakura was shocked to find that she was now in so much pain that she was hallucinating. The forest in front was sparse, and through the sparse forest, she could barely see that there was a huge object approaching in a distance. Where the huge object passed, trees fell one after another. But the rain was too heavy, and Sakura couldn't see what it was at all. She always felt that it looked like a ship. But how could it be? This place should be deep in the forest, all around, except for trees. There were trees. Where did the ship come from? It's over. I'm really hallucinating. I'm sorry Shikamaru, I'm sorry Chaji, I'm sorry Lee. Sakura sat down on her butt, she curled up into a ball, crying. I can't run anymore. I'm already hallucinating, I might be dying. Little kid, why aren't you running? Obito's gloomy voice came from behind, accompanied by the sound of rain. His voice made Sakura even more desperate. Just as Obito was about to go forward and drag Sakura back, his footsteps stopped. One of Obito's eyes widened, and the expression under his mask was full of incredulity. His gaze was looking into the distance. Because, in the far distance, there was a large ship sailing on land. Chapter 291, Obito's Psychological Shadow. Pursuit. Not only Sakura felt like she was hallucinating, even Obito doubted if he was hallucinating. If he didn't see it wrong, the big ship ahead should be the Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirates, right? But the problem is, why would Moby Dick appear here? This is the Land of Rain. The Land of Rain is tens of thousands of miles away from the Land of Thunder, with several countries in between. How could the Whitebeard pirates cross so many countries and head straight for the Land of Rain? Obito remembered that the current Whitebeard pirates, for some reason, were very interested in the tailed beasts, and they were hunting tailed beasts all over the shinobi world. Seeing this situation, after the Whitebeard pirates left Hidden Cloud's village, they should go to the countries and ninja villages with tailed beasts, right? For example, Hidden Waterfall Village, Hidden Sand Village. That should be the place where the Whitebeard pirates should go. Does the Land of Rain have a tailed beast? How could it possibly have one? Wait. If you have to say. It seems there really is one. Obito's face changed again because he thought of Jidomazo. He had learned from the still-alive Madara Uchiha what that special creature was. But the problem is, very few people in the entire shinobi world know about its existence. Even fewer people know what it is. Adding up, it can be counted on one hand. Obito was sure that the Whitebeard pirates definitely did not have this information. Unless one of the White Zetsus betrayed them. If the Whitebeard pirates are not coming for Jidomazo, then what are they coming for? Are they coming for the Akatsuki organization? Or are they coming for him, Obito? After this thought flashed through his mind, Obito's expression suddenly became extremely wonderful. Because he suddenly found that the Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirates was heading straight in his direction. It's a bit too coincidental, so coincidental that it feels incredible. For a moment, Obito even quietly tried to break a Genjutsu. As a result, he found that the huge object in the distance still existed, and he realized that this was not a Genjutsu, nor a hallucination. How do they know I'm here? Obito took a deep breath, and his palms inevitably broke out in a cold sweat. Because he thought of Whitebeard. Just thinking about Whitebeard, the fear that arises in his heart can't be suppressed. Is it a coincidence? Or is it really coming for me? Wait. Obito suddenly looked at Sakura in front of him. Could it be that these four kids have some special positioning ninjutsu on them, allowing the Whitebeard pirates to locate his position? It seems that only this explanation makes sense, right? After all, it can't be a coincidence that Tobi, who is not here, betrayed him, Obito? Damn it. Obito's ultimate goal of catching the four kids is to deal with Kakashi. If he really has to deal with the entire Whitebeard pirates, Obito actually doesn't have the guts. Having been almost killed by Whitebeard several times in a row, Obito already has a psychological shadow of Whitebeard. He doesn't want to fall into Whitebeard's hands again. Thousands of thoughts flashed through his mind, and no matter how angry or unwilling he was, Obito decided to leave this ghostly place as soon as possible. He grabbed Sakura by the back of her collar, ignoring Sakura's struggle, picked her up, and ran. His escape was somewhat embarrassing. Huh, am I hallucinating? Meanwhile, in the distance, Tobi was dragging a wild boar he had killed. He thought humans were really troublesome, especially those four human hostages, who actually needed to eat. Especially that chubby guy, he could really eat. And he couldn't starve those four kids to death, otherwise, Obito, who is sensitive, would definitely go berserk. In Obito's words, a dead hostage has no value at all. So, Tobi had to go hunting early in the morning, so as not to starve those kids to death. As a result, just as Tobi had killed a rather large wild boar, he saw a huge commotion ahead. When Tobi looked towards the front from a distance, he was instantly stunned. That's why he thought he was hallucinating. Whitebeard. Pirate crew? Tobi felt bad. Damn, isn't that the direction where Obito is? Do they know that Obito and I are here? Tobi didn't think as much as Obito, He only knew that he had to run away with Obito as soon as possible. Mainly because Obito, that guy, would sometimes get sick and impulsive, and do some brainless things. If it weren't for Dobby watching him all the time, Obito would have died countless times already. Although Dobby thought that Obito shouldn't be so brainless all the time, right? But what if Obito has repeatedly provoked Whitebeard and been beaten half to death? That guy naively thought that the girl named Nohararin liked him, and for this reason, he always came up with some very paranoid ideas. Facing Obito, a paranoid with a small mind, Toby really couldn't guarantee that nothing would happen. Ah, really? He is really absolutely worrying. Toby felt like a mother in the human world. Land of Rain is indeed the land of rain. It's raining all year round in this place, and it's pouring rain all at once. I don't know why this country hasn't become a marshland yet. With such heavy rain, Kakashi was too lazy to even hold an umbrella, letting the rain drench his body. Kakashi's hedgehog hair was all drenched by the rain. He helplessly brushed away the hair covering his eyes, turned his head to look at Conan next to him. Didn't you say Obito is near this area? Kakashi's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't have given us false information, trying to use us to came to this place, to do something unspeakable, would you? Conan also let the rain drench her. She was used to it. Because this is her hometown, this is where Conan grew up. In response to Kakashi's question, Conan answered expressionlessly, if I were lying, the captain would have come out long ago. Conan's tone was a bit speechless. If we can't find the Obito Uchiha you mentioned, it must be this big ship, too conspicuous. She didn't call Whitebeard Pops, because her way of temporarily joining the Whitebeard pirates was not to recognize Whitebeard as her father. Conan's address to Whitebeard is very formal. And it doesn't fit in with the others on the ship. As for the sailors on the ship, and the survivors of the Uchiha clan, they call Whitebeard Whitebeard-sama, to show their respect and admiration for Whitebeard. At first, Conan wanted to persuade Whitebeard not to bring this ship to the land of rain, so as not to startle the grass and alert the snakes. At least don't drive the ship onto land, isn't it okay to stop at the seaside? As a result, Whitebeard insisted on driving the Moby Dick up. As long as you're not blind, you can see such a big ship, right? If Obito Uchiha, who claimed to be Madara Uchiha and deceived me and Nagato for so long, is startled by the Whitebeard pirates. Conan's face slightly darkened. Because as long as Obito Uchiha is not crazy, he will definitely investigate why the Whitebeard pirates know his location information. There are no secrets that can't be leaked in the world. Even if only the Whitebeard pirates and she, Conan, know about this matter, she believes that Obito will definitely find out. Because that guy is very good at investigating information in the Akatsuki organization, it seems that there is no information in the entire shinobi world that he doesn't know. Just then, a slight sound came from behind. Kakashi immediately turned his head to look, and found that it was Pops, holding more Akamagiri, step by step approaching this side. Whitebeard braved the rain and walked to the bow of the Moby Dick. Next to him stood Kakashi and Conan. Gorrrr. Whitebeard laughed loudly and said, "Stupid son, if you don't chase after him, that despicable little brat will escape." This sentence from Whitebeard made Kakashi stunned for a moment. But soon, Kakashi reacted, his eyes widened. "Pops, you mean you found Obito?" Kakashi thought of Pop's observation haki, which could cover an entire ninja village. That timid and despicable little brat is running farther and farther away. Do you still want to ask here? Whitebeard teased unhurriedly. In the perception range of Whitebeard's observation haki, he indeed sensed Obito Uchiha. Of course, Whitebeard was not in a hurry at all. After hearing this sentence from Whitebeard Pops, Kakashi's face suddenly changed. "I'm going to chase him now." Kakashi immediately set off without saying a word. He jumped directly off the Moby Dick, and after a few teleportations, he disappeared. A few seconds after Kakashi left, Kisame and others noticed the movement and ran over. When they learned that Kakashi was the only one left to chase after Obito Uchiha, Kisame, Shizui, Naruto, Sasuke, Izumi, these 5 people, also immediately followed Kakashi. Watching their backs, Conan breathed a sigh of relief. Then Conan looked up again and looked at Whitebeard. "Captain, aren't you going?" "Gorrrr. If I have to do everything myself, how can these stupid sons and daughters grow up? When can they stand on their own?" Whitebeard's answer was very straightforward. Conan didn't know what to say for a moment. If the strength of Kisame, Kakashi and others is not enough to stand alone, then what kind of strength is qualified to stand alone? Whitebeard's requirements for his adopted sons and daughters are a bit too high, aren't they? After thinking for a while, Conan decided to follow. For safety's sake, she must watch Obito Uchiha be killed with her own eyes. This very unstable factor must not be left in the Akatsuki organization, That guy will drag the Akatsuki organization to death. In addition, from the beginning, the other party has been using a fake identity to deceive her and Nagato. This makes Conan even more distrustful of Obito. Chapter 292, The Slap Rin swung at Obito. The crazily backstabbed Obito. At this moment, Obito had already run back to the prison where Shikamaru and others were being held. He felt that as long as he held these few hostages in his hands, it meant that he had a layer of cards. So Obito didn't leave these kids here, he wanted to take these kids and leave together. Obito waved his hand casually. The arm made of white Zetsu cells turned into flexible vines, binding all of Shikamaru and others who were unconscious. Just as Obito was about to take these kids and flee from here, a sudden breaking sound made Obito's pupil shrink. Obito instinctively dodged to the side, followed by several shurikens, almost brushing past his cheek. Poo-poo-poo only to see one shuriken after another deeply inserted into the mountain wall next to the prison entrance, just a little bit short of hitting his vital parts of the body. The expression on Obito's face was not good. He looked in the direction of the flying shuriken, and saw a figure rapidly approaching. In less than 2 seconds, Obito saw the other's physical features. Although the guy's face was covered with a black mask, Obito still recognized him. Seeing that man for a moment, Obito's ugly face became even uglier, and his fists were clenched. Kakashi Hatake. A name was squeezed out of Obito's mouth. It can be described as gnashing his teeth. Kakashi jumped down from a big tree, landed steadily not far in front of Obito. The distance between the two was less than 20 meters. The two just stared at each other across the air. Obito's mask only revealed one eye, and Kakashi's Sharingan was also covered by the forehead protector. This resulted in the two of them being able to put together only one pair of eyes for the time being. Obito, we meet again. The expression on Kakashi's face was extremely complex, seeing his former friend, now enemy, again, he didn't know what he really felt. Kakashi only knew that he wanted Obito to turn back. But he also knew better that everything Obito had done, no one had the right to forgive Obito on behalf of the victims. Thinking of this, Kakashi slowly took a deep breath, his eyes flashed with a bit of determination. Let them go, Obito. There is no need to involve these innocent children in the disputes between ninjas and pirates. Obito, however, acted as if he hadn't heard this sentence, but instead questioned Kakashi with gritted teeth. Kakashi, what exactly did you do to Rin? You bastard who desecrated the dead. This question made Kakashi stunned for a moment. How did Obito know that he had met Rin? Suppressing the doubt in his heart, Kakashi shook his head and responded, I didn't do anything to Rin, it was Orochimaru who summoning, Impure World reincarnation her out, and I just talked to her. I talked about you, during my conversation with Rin. Kakashi said with a complex expression, both I and Rin hope that you can return to your original self. Don't become the Madara Uchiha that both of us find very strange. He took a deep breath and continued, Obito, if you turn back now, use your remaining life and your abilities to atone for your sins, I think it's still in time. Upon hearing Kakashi's good words, Obito laughed. He laughed very wildly, even a bit uncontrollably. Kakashi, how did you become so naive? Obito, covering his mask, laughed wildly, one eye showing a bit of the gloom. You think I would believe your lies? I don't believe you haven't done anything to Rin. Do you think I would believe a guy who has a whole bookcase full of adult content at home? Turn back? Atone? You're wrong, Kakashi. Everything I've done is for Rin. It's all for the shinobi world. From beginning to end, I have lofty ideals. It's just that people like you always measure others by your own petty standards. Obito spoke coldly, his voice rising a few levels. I want to create a shinobi world without war, without conflict, always maintaining peace. At the same time, I also want to create a world with Rin. Anyone who stands in my way, no matter who it is, including you, Kakashi Hatake, I will kill them. Kakashi frowned, he said, you've caused so many conflicts in the shinobi world. But you say you want to create a peaceful shinobi world, isn't that contradictory? Also, Rin. Although she has passed away. But she has always existed, she has never disappeared. Kakashi took a deep breath, he felt that Obito was a bit delusional. Seeing the 4 kids controlled by Obito, Kakashi's tone also cooled a few degrees. You once saved me, I am very grateful to you. Precisely because of this, I must stop you even more. I don't want to see a former friend make one mistake after another. Also, the world you want to create is not a world where Rin is alive, you just want to create a world where Rin likes you. Kakashi's sharp criticism made Obito's laughing expression freeze on his face. Humphrey, you are so sharp-tongued. Obito, with a cold face, controlled the 4 kids with one hand, and the other hand was forming a seal, fire style, great fireball. He didn't hesitate to attack Kakashi in front of him, and a huge fireball spewed out of his mouth, with a diameter of more than 10 meters. When the fireball was about to engulf Kakashi completely, Obito, being rational, didn't linger. He turned around with the 4 kids and was about to leave this place. But the next second, an unidentified object was thrown from a distance, falling from the sky and heavily hitting in front of Obito. He was startled and hurriedly stopped. Obito looked forward and found that it was a weapon. It was one of the 7 ninja swords of Hidden Mist Village, the great sword Saimada. Saimada opened its big mouth and vomited Kisame's body out from inside. Kisame slowly stood up, one hand holding the hilt of Saimada. After hoisting Saimada up, he looked at Obito with a sneer on his face. Long time no see, Obito Uchiha. Back then, you controlled the 4th Mizukage of Hidden Mist Village, making the Blood Mist policy of Hidden Mist Village more and more intense. What a good method. The next moment, a young and cold voice came from one side. It was you who teamed up with that man and almost annihilated the Uchiha clan, right? Sasuke blocked Obito's left side. Shikamaru. Chaji. Lee. And Naruto's anxious voice sounded, but for a while, he couldn't remember Haruno Sakura's name. After discovering that the 4 people had fainted, Naruto didn't bother to think too much, his eyes filled with anger. You bastard. What did you do to them? Sasuke reminded from the side. There's also one called Haruno Sakura, the girl with pink hair and a wide forehead. She's also our classmate. Obito Uchiha. You, who are also from the Uchiha clan, have teamed up with Itachi Uchiha to do such despicable things. Izumi Uchiha also arrived. She blocked Obito's right side. Her Crimson and Eri 3 Tomoe Sharingan had already been activated. Shizue also stood next to Izumi Uchiha. He sighed lightly. What led the Uchiha to almost be destroyed was not others, but the Uchiha's own clan members. What's wrong with this ninja world? Obito, who was surrounded by the Whitebeard pirates, inevitably felt a little flustered. Because he was worried if Whitebeard, that man, would also be nearby. The more critical point is his Mangekyo Sharingan's weakness. The people of the Whitebeard pirates actually knew about it. This means that in battle, his abilities were at a disadvantage in terms of intelligence. Of course, Obito was mainly worried about Whitebeard being here. After all, Kamuyu's ability was too overpowered, so what if people knew his weakness? 5 minutes was enough for him to leave. Obito stood still, his gaze swept over the people around him, and he snorted coldly. It seems you really came for me. How did you know I was here? Kisame grinned, his sharp teeth showing a grimace. Of course it's because you're unpopular, making your companions give up on you. This sentence made Obito stunned. His companions gave up on him? What's going on? What does it mean? Could they be referring to Tobi? Did Tobi betray him? How is that possible? Suddenly, Obito heard what seemed to be the sound of wings stirring the air. He didn't care about the raindrops falling into his eyes, and looked up. At this moment, Obito's pupils contracted. He was completely unsettled. It's you. Konan created a pair of white wings with Dance of the Shikigami. She gently flapped her wings, hovering directly above Obito. The rain wetted Konan's hair. There was no change in her facial expression, only coldness. Obito felt a sense of betrayal, his teeth almost shattered. What do you mean? Have you forgotten our partnership? Until now, Obito was still speaking in a hoarse voice, imitating Madara Uchiha. Because he thought, the Whitebeard pirates knew his true identity, maybe this woman didn't know? But Konan's words shattered Obito's hopes. It was you who deceived us from the beginning. I'm just returning the favor. Konan looked down at Obito, her face expressionless. You're not Madara Uchiha, you're just a person called Obito Uchiha. Obito clenched his fists, wishing he could kill Konan right now. Wait. He thought of a very bad possibility. If the Akatsuki betrayed him, does that mean the Akatsuki and the Whitebeard pirates are going to join forces to kill him? Now he was surrounded by the Whitebeard pirates and a Konan. But in a while, wouldn't the people from the Akatsuki also come? Thinking of this possibility, Obito's annoyed expression became extremely wonderful. He felt as if the whole world had betrayed him. Obito, you have nowhere left to retreat. The world of the shinobi no longer has a place for you. Kakashi said solemnly. You've been manipulating the conflicts in the shinobi world for so long, it's time to stop. The fire style, great fireball. That Obito just used naturally couldn't hurt Kakashi. If I can't persuade you, perhaps Rin can. Kakashi was still bound by the friendship of the past. He wanted to use some gentle means to persuade Obito. I learned this technique from Orochimaru. Kakashi took a deep breath, his hands quickly forming seals, until he slammed one palm heavily on the ground. Ninja art, summoning, impure world reincarnation technique. The so-called learning was to let Orochimaru perform this technique. With Kakashi's 3 Tomoe Sharingan, he could replicate it with just one look. The next second, an object shaped like a coffin rose from the ground. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the coffin lid fell with a bang. A girl's figure slowly appeared inside the coffin. This scene made Obito tremble all over. Because the face of the girl in the coffin was incredibly familiar to Obito, his trembling voice almost blurted out. Rin? The girl slowly opened her eyes. They were a pair of eyes completely different from a living person, and the surface of her skin also faintly had the unique cracks of summoning, impure world reincarnation. She was Nohara Rin. The moment Nohara Rin opened her eyes, she saw Obito wearing a mask. Rin was stunned. She turned her head and found that it was Kakashi who had resurrected her. She also saw a circle of people around her. If she remembered correctly, these people were all the adopted sons and daughters of Mr. Whitebeard, right? Because the memory of the last summoning, impure world reincarnation still remained in Nohara Rin's consciousness, so Nohara Rin recognized Kisame and others. Kakashi, what's going on? Nohara Rin asked curiously. Kakashi took 2 steps forward and stood next to Rin. He calmed his thoughts, then said to Rin, Rin, that man who is wearing a mask is Obito. Nohara Rin. She looked at Obito in front of her with an incredulous gaze. Rin's tone was somewhat astonished. Obito? Is it really you? How? Why are you wearing a mask? Obito was silent. He slowly reached out to hold his mask and took off the mask on his face. Since everyone knew his identity, there was no need for the mask under this circumstance. Half of Obito's face was incredibly familiar in Rin's memory. But the other half of Obito's face was somewhat unfamiliar. Rin's eyes widened a bit. It's really you. Obito. Kakashi didn't lie to me, you're really still alive. Obito casually threw the mask away. He ignored the people of the Whitebeard pirates, and wanted to say to Rin, Rin, I. Before Obito could finish his words, he was questioned by Rin's soul. Obito, Kakashi told me everything about you. Did you really do those things? Have you really changed so thoroughly? Obito opened his mouth. The words he wanted to say were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say them at all. His silence was actually a kind of default. Nohara Rin's expression dimmed. She said, Obito. You shouldn't be like this. Maybe it's my fault, I didn't lead you on the right path. Rin, it has nothing to do with you, don't say it's your fault. Obito finally spoke. Obito gritted his teeth and said, it's the world's fault. It's Kakashi's fault. If it wasn't for the war back then, if it wasn't for Kakashi killing you. Obito. Kakashi didn't kill me. Nohara Rin immediately corrected, I chose to die by Kakashi's hand. Because only in this way, the 3 tails inside me wouldn't lose control. Only in this way, the tailed beast inside me wouldn't destroy the village. Obito, I know that the words of a dead person like me are of no use. Nohara Rin tried to persuade Obito. But I still hope that you can return to your original self. That version of you is the Obito Uchiha I know. Hey. Haha. Rin, I'm sorry. I can't go back, and I can't turn back. Obito chose to laugh and shake his head resolutely under Rin's astonished gaze. Obito said, I want to create a peaceful world. I want to create a shinobi world where you are still alive. This is my lifelong pursuit. Even if you try to stop me, I won't turn back. Rin didn't know what to say. The Obito in front of her really made her feel very strange. That selfishness, that obsession, that posture of being the only sober one among the drunk, could not be equated with the Obito in her memory. Seeing such an Obito, Nohara Rin had to admit at this moment that people might really become another person over time and with some experiences. Rin couldn't help but purse her lips. She looked straight into Obito's eyes. Obito, I want to ask you a few questions, can you answer me? Obito nodded. Kakashi said. Minato-sensei and Kashina-sensei died in a chaos called Nine Tails Chaos. Many people died in the village at that time. And, Kakashi also said, this chaos was probably caused by you. Nohara Rin asked with a complex expression. Can you tell me this is not true? Can you tell me this is false? Obito was silent for a few seconds. He said. It's true. If the person questioning him was Kakashi, Obito would lie without blinking an eye. But facing Rin at that moment, Obito found that he couldn't tell a lie. Even though they were already mentally prepared, but the moment they learned the truth from Obito's mouth, Nohara Rin and Kakashi were still struck by lightning. It seems that the big fox didn't lie to me, it really is you. Naruto clenched his fist. The one who made him isolated and bullied by the entire village, the one who made him an orphan. In addition to the third Hokage, there is also this Obito Uchiha. Obito. Nohara Rin's voice was a bit choked and trembling. Minato-sensei is your teacher. Kushina-sensei also took care of you in many ways. What have you done? Why did you do this? Obito was silent again for a few seconds. Because of hatred, because of revenge. I hate Minato Namikaze, Uzumaki Kushina, Kakashi Hatake, and I also hate the village. Because they didn't protect you. It's to weaken the power of Hidden Leaf Village, to intensify the conflict between Hidden Leaf Village and Uchiha, and to use this to firm my determination to embark on this road of no return. Just as Obito was still speaking, he found that Rin was walking towards him. Slap. A sudden crisp slap made Obito stand still on the spot, his head even turned to one side. He looked at Rin, who was 2 heads shorter than him, with disbelief in his one eye. I'm sorry, I did something extra. I don't want to see your face anymore. Rin bit her lower lip, the body of summoning, impure world reincarnation made her unable to shed a tear. She was completely disappointed in Obito. Chapter 293, Obito in a tight spot. Kakashi's Kamui technique. The sight of Nohara Rin turning her back and leaving was so close in Obito's eyes, he only needed to take one step, reach out and grab, and he could catch the girl's arm. But at this moment, he found himself unable to move, not because someone was controlling him, but because Rin's words had stunned him. The slight pain on his face told Obito that this slap was very solid. If it weren't for the wood-style cells, this slap might have made his mouth bleed. Obito stared blankly as Nohara Rin stood next to Kakashi again. Ha, your old friend's reunion is over, right? At this time, Kisame's voice echoed leisurely, Obito Uchiha, today is your death day. The moment Kisame's voice fell, he didn't hesitate to attack Obito, holding the large sword Seimata and smashing it directly at Obito. The whoosh sound of Seimata tearing through the air made Obito's hair stand on end. Obito quickly ducked and dodged Kisame's attack. He didn't activate Kamui's phasing, because he was always wary of Whitebeard who hadn't appeared. He had to hold on to this trump card to avoid Whitebeard's attack. Even if Whitebeard's vibration ability, for some reason, could affect his Kamui space, it could still block some damage. Facing such a powerful man, blocking a little bit is a little bit. Obito didn't say much. After dodging this attack, he decisively took out a few very mini smoke bombs from his bosom. Throwing the smoke bombs heavily on the ground, suddenly within a radius of 20 meters, all were enveloped by smoke. Taking advantage of this excellent opportunity, Obito quickly made a seal with both hands, wood-style, 4-corner needle forest technique. The soil under his feet seemed to be slightly surging. The next second, sharp wooden spikes broke out of the ground. The dense wooden spikes covered the entire area in the blink of an eye, forcing Kisame and others to dodge in a hurry. It was also at this moment that Obito's seal changed, Earth-style, Earth Dragon Hide technique. His body sank into the ground, wanting to use this ninjutsu to leave this ghost place. It's worth mentioning that his body is connected to a vine. One end of the vine is tied to Shikamaru, Chachi and others, wanting to take them away. Fire-style, Flame Bullet. Kakashi jumped into midair, and a ball of flame burst out of his mouth towards the bottom. After burning a piece of wooden spikes into charcoal below, his body fell down, and his palms heavily slapped on the ground. Earth-style, Earth Flow Divide technique. As chakra flowed into the earth under Kakashi's feet, the ground began to rise high. The soil rose into a cube, and the area in the center split to the left and right. It was also at this time that Obito, who was hiding in the earth, appeared in the crack. Fire-style, Super Fire-style, Great Fireball. The next second was Sasuke's turn. The huge fireball spewed out of his small body, comparable to the size of a house. At the same time, Naruto also took the opportunity to add a ninjutsu, Wind-style, Great Breakthrough. Under the blessing of Wind-style, the speed of the Fire-style, Great Fireball, was faster than before. Obito could only see a huge fireball flying towards him from the corner of his eye. Wood-style, Fire Prevention Forest. A large tree rising from the ground, like a solid shield, blocked Obito's left side. The huge Fire-style, Great Fireball, fell on the big tree, blasting a large hole in the tree and causing it to collapse at the waist. Blue flames? Obito noticed that the flames Sasuke spat out were blue, which made him realize something was wrong. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis surged in his mind. Just at this moment, Obito's eyes transformed into Mangekyo Sharingan. A sword and a cane sword pierced through his body from left and right. It was Shizui and Izumi Uchiha who took action together. If Obito's reaction was just a little bit slower, his throat and heart might have been pierced by the blade. Damn. Unexpectedly, he was forced to activate Kamui, which made Obito's expression not look good. Kamui has a time limit of 5 minutes. If he wasted these 5 minutes, and then Whitebeard just happened to appear. Obito didn't need to think to know how miserable his end would be. Kami. He controlled the vines to pull all 4 kids to his side, his hands tightly against the 4 kids. Shikamaru, Chaji, Sakura, Lee, all 4 of them had spatial ripples on their bodies. Their bodies disappeared in an instant as if they were sucked into a different space. Don't move. Obito coldly shouted. I also have 4 hostages in my hand. If you dare to do anything to me, the next second, I will take out a kid's head. Obito's palm appeared a ripple of spatial distortion again. A handful of light pink hair appeared on his palm. After casually throwing this handful of hair, Obito said expressionlessly. This is the hair of the kid named Haruno Sakura, don't doubt whether I have that ability. But what Obito didn't expect was that Kakashi, that bastard, acted as if he hadn't heard it, and step by step approached him. Obito frowned, he scolded and asked. Kakashi, you guy, did you not bring your ears out today? Kakashi shook his head, he was completely disappointed in Obito. Taking the lives of 4 children to threaten the Whitebeard pirates, such behavior is unacceptable to Kakashi. Kakashi slowly took off the forehead protector that only blocked the Sharingan, revealing the 3 Tomoe Sharingan that could never be closed. Kakashi said expressionlessly. Obito, the ability of Mangekyo Sharingan is not yours alone. A short sentence made Obito's pupils shrink, and he had a bad feeling. Then, Obito watched as Kakashi's left eye, the 3 Tomoe Sharingan, slowly transformed into Mangekyo Sharingan. And that Mangekyo Sharingan's Tomoe shape was exactly the same as his right eye. Obito's eyes widened, his face was full of incredulous expressions. How is it possible? You don't have Uchiha's bloodline, how could you? Wait. Obito suddenly reacted, could it be because of himself? After all, this was his own eye. Kakashi said solemnly. I don't know how you call your Mangekyo Sharingan ability, but I gave this ability a name, Kami. Obito was about to grind his teeth, this was clearly the name he took back then, how could it be such a coincidence? Kakashi glared with one eye. Kami. But he didn't use Mangekyo Sharingan to attack Obito. Kakashi's body also appeared spatial ripples, he actually sucked himself into Kami space. Because Kakashi wanted to rescue those 4 kids who were caught. Damn. Obito's face was as ugly as it could be. Who would have thought that Kakashi could also master the Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil technique skillfully? When Kakashi appeared in the Kami space, he could see that it was a scene of devastation, as if it had been severely damaged. Kakashi immediately remembered that Pops seemed to have used the power of the Quake fruit to deal with Obito Uchiha. Could it be that this was destroyed by Pop's vibration power? Pop's vibration power can actually affect the different space? Kakashi felt that his guess was mostly correct, because the traces of destruction here were too much like Pop's handiwork. Kakashi only took 2 seconds to lock onto a familiar figure in front of him. Obito, I have specifically cracked the secret of your Mangekyo Sharingan. Your Mangekyo Eye technique is no longer your capital for messing around. Kakashi shouted in a deep voice. In the Kami space, Kakashi and Obito were about 100 meters apart, and their eyes were looking at each other from afar. There was a sense of a Western cowboy duel. She. His own Mangekyo, being used by the person he hated the most, made Obito so angry that his lungs were about to explode. This also means that Kami is no longer an advantage for Obito, but has become a very deadly disadvantage. Outside is a group of people from the Whitebeard pirates, inside is a Kakashi Hatake. Obito finally tasted what it was like to be attacked on both sides. He could have used Kami to leave safely before Whitebeard, that man, felt it. But now, if he wants to leave safely, he has to kill Kakashi in the Kami space. However, Obito suddenly narrowed his eyes. You dare to came to my home court alone to fight me? Kakashi, you are too arrogant, do you think I am still the me from before? Obito realized that this seemed to be an opportunity, if he could kill Kakashi, get his eyes back. With 2 Kami in hand, who in the ninja world could stop him? I'm not the same person I used to be. Kakashi didn't say much, he took out a kunai from his ninja tools bag. Kakashi instantly burst forward. Obito also unhesitatingly threw off the 4 little ghosts, his arm drilled out a wood-style sword, the visible chakra, lingering on the blade of the wooden sword. With the rapid advance of both sides, the distance of 100 meters blinked, the ninja sword and kunai collided in an instant. Kakashi was quick and kicked at Obito's crotch. As a result, Obito unexpectedly did not dodge or avoid, and took this kick hard. Kakashi found that his foot felt a bit wrong, he was shocked to look at Obito. You! Shut up! It's all because of that bastard Whitebeard. Obito's defense was broken and his eyes were full of bloodshot. He took the opportunity to punch, smashing at Kakashi's jaw. Obito's punch speed and strength were a bit beyond Kakashi's expectations. Kakashi, who was hit by a punch, was smashed and flew out, and hit hard in a piece of ruins in the Kamui space, smashing a large stone. Kakashi, I've said it, I'm not the me from before, you're not my opponent at all. Now. The one who's trailing behind is you, Kakashi Hatake, not me, Obito Uchiha. Obito's mouth raised a proud curve, just as he was about to go up and harvest the Sharingan. Suddenly he found that he couldn't lift his foot, as if a hand was holding his ankle. Earth-style, double suicide decapitation jutsu. Obito, who was caught off guard, was pulled into the ground, leaving only a head exposed. Kakashi, who jumped up from the ground, was already holding a ball of lightning in his hand, Rikiri. Without hesitation, Kakashi thrust his hidden mist village towards Obito's skull. But then, numerous dense vines broke out of the ground, tying up Kakashi's body, making it impossible for Kakashi to move forward. The hidden mist village was only a few centimeters away from Obito's forehead. A few drops of cold sweat that were hard to see with the naked eye seeped out of Obito's forehead. If it weren't for the super dynamic force of the Mangekyo Sharingan, he would have had a hard time reacting. With the monstrous strength obtained from transplanting white Zetsu cells, Obito forcibly broke free from the double suicide decapitation jutsu and drilled out of the ground. Looking at Kakashi, who was bound and unable to move, Obito's expression returned to calm. Unfortunately, I am still one step ahead. Obito reached out a hand, wanting to forcibly gouge out Kakashi's eyes. What he didn't expect was that a very fierce chakra suddenly erupted from Kakashi's body. Obito's eyes widened a bit, his body was pushed back several steps by this suddenly erupted chakra. The chakra from the eight tails tore all the vines wrapped around Kakashi to shreds. And on the surface of Kakashi's body, a layer of orange red-tailed beast chakra also appeared. This incredible scene made Obito very shocked. This guy has Mangekyo Sharingan, you have to be careful, don't let me be controlled by him. The voice of the eight tails rang in Kakashi's mind. Kakashi said, this eye of mine is Obito's eye, I should have some resistance to his Sharingan Ganjutsu. Eight tails suddenly realized. Oh. This new Jinchuriki of his, seems to also have a Mangekyo Sharingan. At this moment, the only person with an ugly face was Obito. When did you become a Jinchuriki? Kakashi. Obito realized that something was not quite right, it was a bit beyond his control. This year. Kakashi actually answered. Kakashi rushed towards Obito again, this time his speed was even faster than before, so fast that Obito's breath almost stagnated. Obito quickly put his hands together, a large number of vines wrapped his entire body, the surface appeared spikes, like a huge sea urchin appeared in front of Kakashi. Rikiri. Kakashi used hidden mist village again. This time, it landed solidly on Obito's wood style. Obito's wood style ninjutsu was cut open in an instant, but Kakashi found that Obito inside suddenly disappeared. He left this space and returned to reality? Kakashi guessed right, Obito used such a way to forcibly dodge Kakashi's attack. But when Obito arrived in reality, the next moment, he was attacked by a group of pirates outside. Obito's face almost turned green. Facing Whitebeard so embarrassed is okay to say, but facing this group of people, he could actually be so embarrassed. What a disgrace. Chapter 294, Arrival of the Tree World. Kakashi's Tailed Beast Bomb. The moment Obito appeared, water style, fire style, wind style, and other ninjutsu, all flew towards his position, making Obito's whole body stand on end. He could only be forced to enter the Kamui space again, but at this moment, Obito's eyes suddenly widened. A hand glowing with lightning pierced through his chest, from his front chest through, and out of his back. Kakashi's pair of eyes had a bit of gloom, this scene reminded him of that scene back then. But soon, Kakashi steadied his mind and said, I knew you would come back, the moment you came back, was the moment you exposed your weakness. Just as Kakashi thought it was all over, suddenly Obito's two hands grabbed his arm. I have to thank that guy Whitebeard, who once beat me up so badly that there are hardly any fatal parts in this body of mine. Obito exerted force with both hands and gave a hard twist. Crack. Obito's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and the wood-style cells in his body became active instantly. But at this moment, Kakashi inexplicably felt a strong sense of crisis. Even he himself found it hard to describe what kind of feeling it was, as if there was a subconscious telling him that he must stay away from Obito and not let Obito continue to touch him. Kakashi decided to trust his subconscious sense of crisis. He hurriedly kicked out, forcibly broke free from Obito's hands, and immediately jumped back a distance. And when Kakashi wanted to lift his left hand, he found that his left hand was in severe pain. It's broken. Kakashi glanced at his left arm with the corner of his eye, and could see that his left forearm was in a twisted state, and the bones had broken through the flesh and blood. He looked at the big hole in Obito's chest with his eyes again. Kakashi was stunned. Why isn't there any blood flowing out? I can't see the internal organs and bones inside. He found that Obito's body seemed to be different from a human body, as if it had been specially modified. I've lent you my chakra, how can you still be so embarrassed, you little brat? The voice of the eight-tail sounded with disdain. Kakashi gave a bitter smile and responded. Because I don't know the other party's information, I thought this strike could pierce his heart. But now it seems, where is Obito's heart in his chest? Little brat, set your bones back. Juki said. Kakashi was on guard against Obito. While enduring the pain, he set his broken arm straight. Then, the chakra from Eight Tails surged again, stimulating Kakashi's vitality crazily, and slowly healed Kakashi's broken left arm. Kakashi's left arm visibly recovered, although there was still a sense of pain, but at least his left arm could move. Humphrey. Jinchuriki, what a nuisance. Obito gritted his teeth. The key was that his Mengekyo Sharingan Ganjutsu might not necessarily be able to confuse the tailed beast inside Kakashi. Because Kakashi's Mengekyo Sharingan is also his, Obito's Sharingan. Kakashi can definitely use that Sharingan to restrain his own Sharingan. Obito also knew that he had missed the perfect opportunity to kill Kakashi, because he had just wanted to use the Wood Styles technique. But who could have thought that Kakashi's reaction would be so fast? The eyes of the two collided in midair for the second time, neither continued to speak, and the two fought again. This time Kakashi was very cautious not to let Obito touch his body, and Obito was always wanting to end the fight quickly. In just a few seconds, the two began to fight taijutsu. Kakashi held a kunai in each hand, using the kunai to target Obito. Kakashi thought, since Obito's heart is not Obito's weakness, then directly attack Obito's head. Soon Kakashi found that he had indeed found Obito's real fatal part, because whenever he wanted to attack Obito's head, Obito would hurriedly block his attack. As a Jinchuriki, Kakashi is not worried about lacking chakra now. As long as he finds an opportunity, Kakashi will use a ninjutsu with a large range, forcing Obito to have to cope. As time passed by every minute and every second, Obito's expression on his face visibly struggled to maintain calm, and his eyes visibly anxious. 2 minutes have already passed. I only have 3 minutes left, and it will be troublesome after 3 minutes. Obito was numb all over. He knew very well that the outside of the Kamui space was very dangerous. If the 5 minutes were completely over, he would be forced to return to reality. Maybe, Whitebeard doesn't even need to make a move, just those damn pirates could take him down. Damn it. Why is Kakashi so hard to deal with? He is completely different from the last time I saw him. After Obito and Kakashi pulled a little distance, he slowly took a deep breath, quickly formed a seal, wood style, advent of the tree world. Obito's forehead showed veins. Roar. The ground of the Kamui space began to shake violently, dense vines drilled out from under his feet, each vine visibly swelled and thickened, turning into one towering tree after another. Each towering tree was like a coiling dragon, and they all consciously wanted to strangle Kakashi into a pulp. Even Obito, who had a large amount of white Zetsu cells implanted in his body, was still panting after using this move. Obito was panting heavily, his whole person looked like he was overexhausted. He stood at the top of the canopy of a towering tree, overlooking the sea of trees in front of him. It's worthy of being one of the famous ninjutsu of the first Hokage. It's not easy to use. Obito's white Zetsu cells inside his body began to quickly recover chakra. And Kakashi, who was in the center of the sea of trees, was trying his best to dodge the strangulation of each big tree, wanting to escape from this place. But every big tree around him, even every leaf, seemed to have its own consciousness, trapping Kakashi tightly in it. Juki. Please. Kakashi had to ask Juki for help. Eight Tails in the ceiling space rolled his eyes. Then you should be prepared to endure the pain of half-beastification. A large amount of tailed beast chakra poured into Kakashi's body, turning Kakashi's flesh and bones into tailed beast chakra. The extremely intense pain made Kakashi's eyes widen. His body was also undergoing changes. A tail made of chakra emerged from his back, and his face changed to another look. This was Kakashi's first time half-beastifying. He didn't expect that becoming a Jinchuriki would have to endure such pain. Meanwhile, outside the Kamui space, Obi had been observing the situation here from a distance. He didn't dare to approach here because he was alone. Obi was very annoyed. What the hell is Obito doing? I just saw him suddenly come out of the Kamui space, and then instantly go back. Obi, who arrived late, didn't know that Kakashi was also in the Kamui space. He only knew that the situation now was a bit bad, Once Obito's Kamui space-time passed, Obito might be caught red-handed. There are 6 people in total. If I go to support Obito, will I be taken down by them before I see Obito? Obi didn't underestimate any of the people in front of him, even Naruto and Sasuke. But if he doesn't go to support Obito, if Obito really falls into the hands of the pirates, wouldn't all the plans be in vain? Obito is a very important piece in the plan, he absolutely can't die. Really, there isn't a day to let Zetsu have a peace of mind. Obi was mentally prepared, he must go to support Obito. Even if it's risking his life, he has to save Obito. Obi's figure disappeared in a flash. When he appeared again, he was less than 100 meters away from Kisame and others. At this position, it was just within the observation haki sensing range of Naruto and Shizui. Naruto was alert in an instant, he reminded everyone, someone is coming. I feel hostility, the other party is definitely not a good person. Shizui also spoke in a deep voice, I feel it too, in the south direction. One by one, the gazes instantly locked onto Obi's hiding place, making Obi's scalp numb. He sneaked here to launch a surprise attack, but he was discovered. Are there so many sensory ninjas among these pirates? Well, you're really amazing, as expected of a member of the Whitebeard pirates. Obi slowly walked out from behind a huge rock. He was wearing the clothes of the Akatsuki organization, his face had no features, only a black hole in the shape of a spiral. Obi, alone, confronted Naruto and the others. He scratched his head and spoke in a strange tone, well, I have a good relationship with Obito, why don't you give me a face and let him go? He has to die, and so do you. Conan said expressionlessly, you and him will plunge the Akatsuki into endless crisis. Hey, it's troublesome. I've been betrayed. I told Obito not to do that, but he never listens to me. Obi still had the leisure to complain. I remember you. Kisame, carrying Samada, squinted his eyes, you're that companion of Obito Uchiha, right? The one who can use wood-style ninjutsu. Sasuke pondered, don't you guys think this guy is a bit similar to that strange creature that Tsunade and Orochimaru researched? Izumi Uchiha thoughtfully, indeed, except for the face, everything else is quite similar. Naruto was excited and clapped his fists, in that case, let's capture this guy alive. He has done so many bad things with Obito Uchiha, letting him die would be too cheap for him. This kind of guy should become Tsunade's medical research material. Naruto rubbed his hands together. A tailed beast bomb, compressed to the extreme, was forming in Kakashi's mouth. When the trees were about to bind him completely, the tailed beast bomb in Kakashi's mouth exploded violently, a terrifying beam of light, with a diameter of tens of meters, rose to the sky, easily tearing a large number of trees into powder. The invisible shockwave spread in all directions, just the spreading shockwave was enough to shatter the surrounding trees into pieces. Kakashi also took this opportunity, quickly jumped up with his limbs on the ground, and broke out of the encirclement of the tree world descent. At this moment, Kakashi was also standing on the crown of a big tree. The advantage of having a good relationship with a tailed beast is that when he is in a semi-tailed beast state, Kakashi can still keep his sanity. Kakashi, this bastard, has he already deepened his bond with the tailed beast to this extent? He can actually use the tailed beast bomb? Obito gritted his teeth when he saw this scene. Obito didn't know what kind of psychology he had, anyway, as long as he saw Kakashi becoming more and more powerful, he felt more and more uncomfortable in his heart. Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan stared hard, wanting to use the Mangekyo's Ganjutsu to control the semi-tailed beast Kakashi. But the next second, Kakashi directly jumped at him. Obviously, his Mangekyo Sharingan Ganjutsu was useless to Kakashi. Seeing this, Obito could only dodge in a hurry. Only 2 minutes left. Obito became more and more anxious. Kakashi, who has the power of the tailed beast, can definitely fight him in the Kamui space for at least an hour. But the problem is, he can't stay in the Kamui space for that long. Water style, water dragon bullet technique. Obi didn't have many opportunities to think about the solution. Kakashi opened his mouth and a huge water dragon spewed out, knocking down a large piece of trees. In the state of semi-tailed beast, every ninjutsu that Kakashi used had a surprisingly large range. It's so noisy. Haruno Sakura, who had previously fainted, slowly woke up in this commotion. Sakura was the only one of the 4 little kids who didn't get caught in the Sharingan Ganjutsu. The moment she tried to open her eyes, Sakura was stunned. Because she saw a giant dragon made of water flying over her head. Wherever the dragon passed, the forest in front of her was smashed into a long trench, the momentum was nothing short of exaggerated. Sakura was terrified. Her little face turned as white as paper in an instant. Where is this place? She quickly found out that this place seemed very strange. She couldn't see the blue sky above her head, there was no sun, and the ground under her feet was flat and inexplicable, giving her a sense of déjà vu as if she were in a dream. A piece of broken wood fell from the sky and hit Sakura right on her forehead, causing her to bleed profusely, almost knocking her out. She was in tears from the pain. It hurts. No, it's not a dream. Sakura broke out in a cold sweat, and the fear in her heart drove her to flee from this place. But before she could stand up, a figure suddenly fell from the sky and landed heavily not far in front of her. The ground was smashed into a big pit by the figure. When the dust settled, Sakura mustered up the courage to take a closer look. It's that bad guy. Although she couldn't see Obito's face, seeing Obito's tattered black and red cloud robe, Sakura still recognized him. Before she could feel fear, another figure fell from the sky. What is this? Sakura was stunned. This was obviously Kakashi in a semi-tailed beast state. However, Kakashi's current image, in Sakura's eyes, there was no difference from a monster. Chapter 295, Whitebeard, Little Devil, the game of cat and mouse is over. Cough cough. At first glance, Obito looked extremely embarrassed. He struggled to climb out of the big pit, but he lost his balance and almost fell. Obito suddenly realized that he couldn't feel his left foot. He quickly looked down and his pupils shrank, because he found that his left foot had disappeared. Before he could react, Kakashi had already killed him again. Facing Kakashi's beast-like pounce, Obito could only hurriedly block in front of him with both hands, but found that Kakashi, who was in a semi-tailed beast state, was incredibly strong. Obito was directly knocked down by Kakashi, and his arms were firmly held by Kakashi. Obito's entire back was tightly pressed against the center of the big pit. His eyes were filled with a sense of urgency, and he wanted to struggle against Kakashi's control. But he found that he couldn't struggle at all. Even if at least 90% of his body was made up of white Zetsu cells, he still couldn't match Kakashi's strength. ZZ under Obito's incredulous and terrified gaze, Kakashi opened his mouth towards his head. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Obito, who realized what Kakashi was going to do, hurriedly shouted. Are you going to kill me? Kakashi. After you killed Rin, are you going to kill me too? Is this your ninja way, Kakashi Hatake? If it were in the real world, even if he were facing a tailed beast bomb, Obito wouldn't be afraid. Because he could completely activate Kamyu's intangibility to avoid the terrifying damage caused by the tailed beast bomb. But the problem is that he is now in the Kamyu space. Can Kamyu still be activated in the Kamyu space? What a joke. Obito, who couldn't use Kamyu, had at least half of his combat power cut off. Obito. You are too obsessed. Kakashi's voice, as if layered with Chuki's voice. The only way for you to find relief and redemption is death. As soon as the words fell, Kakashi's big mouth began to condense a small tailed beast bomb. The tailed beast bomb was initially only the size of a soybean, then it quickly expanded to the size of a ping-pong ball, until it was as big as a tennis ball. The tailed beast bomb, so close at hand, gave Obito a heart-pounding sense of danger. This feeling of danger was strikingly similar to when he faced Whitebeard. Damn. Damn it. Obito felt a sense of despair. No matter how many people were lurking outside, he had to leave the Kamyu space. Otherwise, he would definitely be killed by Kakashi. The Mangekyo Sharingan in Obito's eyes began to slowly rotate. He directly deactivated his Kamyu technique, and his entire person disappeared from the Kamyu space as if he had teleported. This operation was just like when he dodged Kakashi's Rikiri. Kakashi only felt his hands empty, and then Obito in front of him disappeared. It was at this time. The tailed beast bomb condensed in his mouth slowly disappeared. Obito, so many years have passed. Your combat experience has not improved much. Kakashi's voice echoed leisurely in the Kamyu space. He naturally couldn't use the tailed beast bomb at close range against Obito here, because that would be no different from dying together with Obito. Kakashi knew more clearly what his purpose was for entering the Kamyu space. He was here to rescue Haruno Sakura and Narashikimaru and the other kids. Those 4 kids were standing behind him. If he used the tailed beast bomb here, he might kill these kids before he killed Obito. Kakashi temporarily exited the semi-tailed beast form. He believed that Kisame and others lurking outside would definitely give Obito an unforgettable lesson. It seems that the semi-tailed beast form can't be activated casually. Just after returning to human form, Kakashi almost collapsed on the ground. He was panting slightly, trying hard to recover his strength. He could feel the remnants of the tailed beast chakra, bringing a faint impact on his body. It made him feel a bit cold all over. Then, Kakashi stood up straight, looked at Sakura with a frightened face, and tried to pull out a tired smile under the mask. It's okay now. Don't worry, I was once a ninja of Hidden Leaf Village, I am here to save you, I won't hurt you. Then Kakashi frowned and asked Sakura, "What's the matter with these three? Such a big movement can't wake them up?" Sakura swallowed and shook her head tremblingly. "I don't know." Kakashi could only squat down and check carefully. He was taken aback, and a bit of chill flashed across his tired face, using Sharingan Genjutsu on a few innocent children. "Obito, aren't you too cruel? It seems that he can only ask Tsunade-sama to save these children. Otherwise, if they wake up slowly by themselves, who knows when that will be? And he doesn't know what kind of sequelae Obito's Sharingan Genjutsu will bring to them. Letting Tsunade-sama check is the most prudent." Meanwhile, Obito, standing on one foot, had a look of relief on his face, and his eyes were full of gloom and anger. "Kakashi, that bastard, actually doesn't care about our friendship in the past and wants to kill me." The next second, Obito became vigilant, ready to deal with the attacks of other members of the Whitebeard pirates at any time. But when he looked up, he was stunned, and his eyes widened. Cough. "Obito, sorry, I can't beat." Dobi, who was only half a body left, was tied up and hung on a tree. Half of his body was also inserted with paper shuriken. Each paper shuriken was painted with tense spells, like a special type of paper sealing technique, making Dobi unable to struggle. Dobi's action of challenging more than half of the Whitebeard pirates by himself ended in a hasty failure. He thought that he had done his best and could at least drag on for 10 minutes to buy Obito some time to escape. Unexpectedly, he was defeated in just 2 minutes. Kisame, Konan, Shizui, Naruto, Sasuke, Izumi. The combined attack from these 6 people was not something Tobi could handle. "Now it's just you left, isn't it? Obito Uchiha. Your helper is only half left, he can't help you anymore." Kisame wiped the wound on his cheek, which was previously injured by Tobi. Licking the blood on his fingertips, Kisame grinned excitedly. "Why do you look so embarrassed? You can't beat Kakashi? Do you feel the turn of the tide? Humphrey. Serves you right." Sasuke glanced at Obito's missing left foot, and said coldly, "Those who betray the Uchiha clan will not end well." Nohara Rin looked complicated. Seeing her once close friend become like this, she felt a bit soft for a moment. But she knew that she absolutely couldn't be soft at this time. Her softness would not save Obito, but would only make Obito sink deeper. Summoning Impure World Reincarnation form, Rin took a deep breath. She could only close her eyes. Choose not to look. "Can you tell me, why did you join forces with Itachi to exterminate the Uchiha clan?" Shizui asked. "You said before that you wanted to intensify the conflict between Hidden Leaf Village and Uchiha, but you wiped out the Uchiha clan, didn't you waste your efforts?" The words from Whitebeard's pirate crew and others. Obito didn't listen at all. He stared with a gloomy Mangekyo Sharingan, sweeping a circle of people surrounding him. And looked at the embarrassed Obi, who was in a panicked state. Obito knew. He absolutely couldn't return to Kamui space now, that bastard Kakashi must be ready to wait for him. Dead end, this is a dead end. TSK. Obito said coldly. "If it weren't for this woman betraying me, do you think I would be in this situation?" Konan said expressionlessly. "I found that you never admit your mistakes. From the beginning, it was because you made wrong decisions on your own and threatened the situation of Akatsuki. Since you can bypass all of us and make decisions on your own, why can't I hide from you and make decisions on my own, to clean up the Akatsuki organization?" Konan's question left Obito speechless. He found that he couldn't argue with this woman. Fire-style windstorm dance. Obito knew he couldn't delay any longer, he had to try his best to find a chance to escape. The Mangekyo Sharingan rotated slightly, he clapped his hands, and spat out a rotating fire. Water-style Great Waterfall Jutsu. Kisame also took action without hesitation, a large amount of water rushed towards Obito. The intense collision of water and fire stirred up waves of steam. Naruto Uzumaki style, super invincible giant Rasengan. Naruto appeared behind Obito at some point. Holding a super large Rasengan with a diameter of 1 meter in his hand, he pressed it towards Obito. A strong sense of crisis made Obito's hair stand on end. Obito didn't have time to think too much, he could only hurriedly dodge to the side. Naruto's attack hit the place where Obito was originally standing. The collision of the Rasengan with the ground caused a roaring explosion, stirring up a wave of shock waves, and Obito was blown away. When Obito finally landed on the ground and tried to stand firm with one foot. Fire-style, great fireball. Fire-style, great fireball. The fire-style, great fireball. From Izumi Uchiha and Shizue Uchiha came surging from both sides. At this moment, Obito had no time to dodge, and the fireball swallowed him up on the spot. The scorching flames made Obito's eyes full of bloodshot veins. Even though his body was implanted with white Zetsu cells, the sensation of pain still existed. When the flames dissipated, Obito, whose body was covered in blisters from the burns, stood unsteadily. From his appearance, it was clear that he was severely burned, and a faint white smoke rose from the surface of his skin. There was even a strange smell of roasted meat in the white smoke. Damn it! Damn it! Dobi, who saw this scene, was a bit anxious. Hey! If Obito is killed by the pirates, what should we do? Let me give you the final blow, Obito Uchiha. Kisame sneered with a smirk on his face, clapping his hands. I really appreciate your care for Hidden Mist Village in the previous years. Water style, great shark bullet technique. A huge shark made of water flow hit Obito head-on, causing Obito to be knocked out. His back broke one tree after another, and also shattered one boulder after another. Finally, he crashed into the foot of a mountain, knocking out a huge pit in the mountain. Obito's body, with one heavy blow after another, began to become fragmented. He. Ha ha ha. But Obito, who was so heavily hit, could still laugh. In the end, I am still one step ahead. This is my escape route. Pirates. The Akatsuki clothes on Obito's body had turned into ashes, and on the left side of his naked body, there was a 3-Tomoe Sharingan. Izanagi. Instantly, the 3-Tomoe Sharingan implanted in his chest began to turn gray. During the chaos of the Uchiha clan massacre that night, Obito took away many Sharingan. Among them, Obito had several 3-Tomoe Sharingan that could activate Izanagi. This is Obito's second life-saving trump card besides Kamui. As one of the ultimate secret techniques of the Uchiha clan, Izanagi can forcibly rewrite a section of reality that is unfavorable to the caster, making that unfavorable reality seem as if it never happened. Once this secret technique is used, the Sharingan will go blind. Obito's fragmented body, after a moment of flickering, returned to its original state. However, the leg that was broken by Kakashi in the Kamui space has not yet recovered. Obito's face was filled with the unique mad laughter of the Uchiha clan. Ha 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 ha. Hoshigaki Kisame, I have to thank you for using this ninjutsu to help me extend my escape distance. Obito's eyes were extremely gloomy. Conan. After I recover, the first person I will kill is you. Then it will be Kakashi Hatake. And then the others. He struggled to crawl out of the pit that was knocked out of the mountain. Obito knew that it was still unsafe here, he had to hurry up and leave. But the next second, a familiar hearty laughter echoed through the entire forest of the Land of Rain. Gorara. You despicable little brat, where do you want to go? Obito's breathing almost stopped. He looked up at the sky in disbelief, and at that moment, his whole body trembled. In Obito's line of sight, a figure jumped into the air from nowhere. With the vision of the Mangekyo Sharingan, he could clearly see that Whitebeard's body was more than 200 meters in the air. Obito was stunned. How did Whitebeard know he was here? How did Whitebeard know about all this happening? Didn't we just not see Whitebeard? Gorara. Whitebeard, who had leaped into midair, already had a wave of vibration swirling around his right fist. The game of cat and mouse is over. You despicable little brat. Whitebeard's eyes flashed a cold light. He punched the air and space in front of him. With a crack, the entire forest turned upside down. Chapter 296, The Rampaging Vibration. Obito's Death. As Whitebeard punched the air and space below him in midair, the entire land where his sight passed was instantly turned upside down. Dense cracks began to spread in front of him, like a shattered mirror. The eerie crisp shattering sound was endless. The power of the quake fruit began to rampage wildly. An invisible shockwave first swept all around, blowing away the gloomy clouds above his head. When the pouring rain in this forest suddenly stopped, the long-lost sunlight shone on the forest. This scene looked quite beautiful, but what followed was a vibration wave that hit the ground directly. The land directly below Whitebeard was first subjected to unprecedented destruction. One by one, the big trees were crushed into powder, and the rocks were shattered. The ground began to collapse exaggeratedly downwards. Tens or even hundreds of meters deep soil layer were all forcibly shaken into mud by the power of the quake fruit. The spreading power of vibration spread in all directions. Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan was already staring like a bell. Facing Whitebeard again, Obito found that he still couldn't muster any courage, and still couldn't suppress the fear that arose in his heart. That kind of psychological shadow is not so easy to eliminate, which led to him in this moment of distraction, even embarrassed to dodge. Too late. Or rather, Obito couldn't think of where he could hide? Up, down, left, right, front, back, where is safe? Even if he escapes into Kamui space, he will face Kakashi, who is already prepared to give him a fatal blow. Where else can he hide? Obito's mind flashed with thousands of desperate thoughts. The next moment, the terrifying vibration wave has already affected the area where he was standing. Pua! Obito vomited a mouthful of blood on the spot. The endless vibration power constantly tortured his body, and the duration of Izanagi's ability had long passed. Obito's entire body uncontrollably fell to the ground. He could clearly feel the ground under his feet beginning to crack inch by inch, and like the waves in a storm, constantly rolling and surging. Even if his body now, at least 90% of the area is made up of white Zetsu cells, but white Zetsu cells facing the power of Whitebeard's vibration, also do not show too strong defensive power. Obito's left chest that has already lost sight of the 3 Tomoe Sharingan, was blown up by the power of the Quake fruit on the spot. Then it was his 2 hands. Obito watched as his 10 fingers cracked inch by inch, until like a lit firecracker, they exploded into fragments with a crackle. His body was also shaken by the power of vibration like soft noodles, constantly shaking and twisting. Mouthful after mouthful of blood uncontrollably gushed from his mouth. Nose, ears, eye sockets. These parts are also spewing blood wildly. Cerebrospinal fluid all gushed out from the nostrils. Obito's mind consciousness also buzzed into a blank crash state. His brain was not replaced by white Zetsu cells, otherwise, he would not be Uchiha Obito. At this moment, Obito finally couldn't hold his body steady. His body, like a broken sack, was blown away by the vibration wave. The ground beneath his feet was the same. Chunks of soil and boulders weighing tens, hundreds, and even thousands of tons were pushed back, forming a huge exaggerated circular pit below. The atmospheric fluctuations caused by the shockwave stirred up gusts of wind, and where the hurricane passed, trees began to fall. Even Kisame and others in the distance felt the strong gale coming head-on, causing their expressions to change. Konan, who was flying in midair, was knocked out by the gale on the spot. Fortunately, she timely deactivated her dance of the Shikigami, otherwise she wouldn't know how far she would be blown away. Konan, who landed on the ground, watched as the trees around her were blown down, and those trees that could be hugged by several people were blown up from their roots. Her cool face, like a high mountain flower, finally couldn't maintain its calm. Looking at the shattered scene in the distance, Konan was shocked. This is Whitebeard's personal attack. Could it be that Hoshigaki Kisame's strike just now didn't kill Obito Uchiha, and then Whitebeard couldn't stand it and finally took action? Konan found it hard to describe how terrifying this destructive power was. Wasn't Nagato's almighty push at full power just like this? You should know that the forest in the Land of Rain is much larger than a ninja village. At least it would take more than a dozen ninja villages to be as large as this forest. Konan tried hard to gather chakra under her feet to stabilize her body and prevent herself from being blown away by the gale. Her gaze wandered in all directions, and she couldn't help but gasp. Even if the power of the shockwave does not affect this area, the power of other aftershocks caused by the shockwave cannot be underestimated. It is not a power that ordinary ninjas can withstand. Konan increasingly felt that Obito Uchiha was indeed pushing the Akatsuki into the fire pit. That guy kept provoking the Whitebeard pirates, challenging Whitebeard's patience, and in the end, it would only make the Akatsuki bear Whitebeard's wrath. So what she did was not wrong. The current Akatsuki has not developed into a complete body that satisfies Konan. So the Akatsuki must not easily tear their faces with Whitebeard. Even if they fight with the Whitebeard pirates with all their strength and end up hurting both sides, it is not the situation Konan wants to see. The most critical point is, can they really fight and hurt both sides? Is Nagata really Whitebeard's opponent? For a while, Konan couldn't find an answer. Because the more she understood Whitebeard, the more she knew how terrifying this man was. If someone says, Whitebeard has the power to destroy the world by himself, Konan will not refute this statement. Because from the power displayed by Whitebeard, Whitebeard does have this ability. After all, as long as he runs to a place and uses this shockwave power, given enough time, Whitebeard can indeed destroy the world. What a terrifying power. Izumi Uchiha was shocked. Every time Pops makes a move, it refreshes my understanding of Pop's power. With this blow, even if 2 Hidden Lee Village are added together, they will be destroyed, right? The Two Tails Matatabi inside Sasuke exclaimed in surprise. Even if Kurama accumulates power to the limit, the power of the Tailed Beast Bomb is just like this, right? It might not even be as destructive as Whitebeard's blow. Hey, hey, hey. I can hear you. Tailed beasts can communicate with each other and hear what each other is saying through a special method. Kurama immediately saved face for himself. Whitebeard just has this strange ability, which has a bit of advantage in terms of a wider range of influence. Compared to destructive power, my Tailed Beast Bomb is definitely not weaker than him. Kisame put Seimata in front of him, letting Seimata block the gale coming head-on. Even so, Kisame's body was uncontrollably pushed back several meters by the wild wind. Both feet dragged out 2 long trenches on the ground. This is ridiculous. Such power, it's unimaginable. Kisame exclaimed in awe. I believe Pops can definitely be called the strongest man in the world. Pops is absolutely the strongest man in the ninja world. Shizue grabbed Obi, who was left with only half of his body, to prevent this guy from escaping. Obi was completely stunned. He murmured to himself, it's over, Obito is definitely dead. What should I do? The more critical point is, what about the plan that the main body has set? After brewing such a long plan, suddenly the most important chess piece died in Whitebeard's hands. What should we do? Obi thought for a long time and couldn't figure out any clues. In the end, he gave up thinking. Because now he, who has lost the ability to resist and has been caught, can't do anything. Naruto and Sasuke, on the other hand, were holding hands. After all, they were both small children with smaller bodies. If they didn't stand together, they would definitely be blown away. If someone was at the same height as Whitebeard and looked down at the entire forest, they would see that more than half of this forest had been shattered by the power of the quake fruit. Obito, who was also hit by the shockwave and flew out, was not as lucky as he was at the beginning, and could use Izanagi to avoid damage. The moment he was affected by the power of the quake fruit, his brain stopped thinking. Even if he wanted to sacrifice a Mangekyo Sharingan to start a new round of Izanagi, he didn't have the chance, let alone the consciousness. Obito's broken body has turned into a fleeting light as it flies out. During the process of flying backwards, his body was still being ravaged by the power of the quake fruit, and it began to become more and more broken. His 2 arms began to burst inch by inch, followed by his 2 legs, which also exploded like firecrackers. Obito, who was shaken into a human pig, was suffering unprecedented pain. The distortion of the atmosphere and space made his body immobile, and the lower half of his body also began to shatter. The skin on his face was cracked open, dyeing his face blood red. Obito's body hit a mountain behind him. The mountain was shattered in an instant. But obviously, it was not Obito who collapsed it, but it was collapsed by Whitebeard's power. With this blow, Whitebeard used extremely powerful strength. From Whitebeard's right arm, which was wrapped in tight muscles and veins, you could see how great his strength was. Whitebeard's body also quickly fell, and his feet stomped heavily on the broken ground. Observation Haki swept past in an instant, and Whitebeard locked onto Obito's position. As the ground under his feet collapsed again, Whitebeard's figure disappeared in an instant, and he was approaching Obito at an incredible speed. At this moment, the arbitrarily raging tremor power finally stopped, and the turbulent wind that swept the entire forest also slowly stopped. The forest in the land of rain today can be described as a mess. Looking around, there is no good place, and even no big tree can stand here. The entire forest has been leveled. The ground under your feet is all broken, and there are many terrifying canyon cracks. At a glance, it seems that this area has experienced a very serious geological disaster, as if it has experienced a natural disaster rather than a man-made disaster. A very broken body lay on the shattered ground. Now Obito's body is only 1/5 left. All body parts below his chest have disappeared, and the parts above his chest are also in a state of incompleteness. Obito's neck has a very exaggerated gap, revealing the bones and blood vessels inside. Both ears have disappeared, and a large piece of skin and flesh on his face is gone, and his nose has long been shattered. There were only a few teeth left in his mouth, and only one Mangekyo Sharingan stubbornly remained in his eye socket. Having suffered such a terrifying blow, let alone that 90% of his body was white blood cells, even if he was the main body of White Zetsu, he had reached a critical stage of life. It's unknown whether this could be considered a medical miracle. At this moment, Obito somehow came back to his senses, and there was finally a bit of spirit in his dull and confused eyes. But when Obito opened his eyes, what he saw was the towering figure of Whitebeard standing in front of him like an iron tower. Obito vaguely realized his current situation. Is everything over just like that? I thought I could change the world. I thought I could create a world I wanted. I'm not willing. Obito's mouth was full of blood, and his tongue was battered, making his speech very vague. I haven't created a world with Rin yet. I haven't killed Kakashi. I haven't. Bang. Whitebeard's Murakamagi lightly struck the ground, interrupting Obito's words and thoughts. You despicable brat, if your dream is to achieve by killing teacher, harming close friend, harming teacher's son, slaughtering clan, your thinking is really deformed. Whitebeard squinted his eyes, looking down at Obito at his feet. Obito didn't know what to say. Are there not a few mature and normal people among you ninja brats in the ninja world? Whitebeard slowly picked up 1/5 of Obito. In this state, Obito couldn't even use the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan. In his blurry vision, he could barely see Whitebeard's disdainful eyes. Yes, disdain. Obito never thought that one day he would be stared at with such eyes. And he had no way to resist, he didn't even have the strength to resist. And Whitebeard's eyes represented that Whitebeard had never looked at him directly from beginning to end. Indeed, Obito Uchiha was never worthy of being looked at directly by Whitebeard. Whitebeard never considered Obito as a rival. He just regarded Obito as a brat with deformed thinking. That's all. You despicable brat, go to hell and atone for your sins. Whitebeard's face returned to calm, and he exerted force with his fingers. Obito's head, which was held in his hand, burst open like a watermelon on the spot. A perfectly intact Mangekyo Sharingan was ejected. It just fell at Whitebeard's feet. Obito Uchiha. Dead. Chapter 297, Double-Eyed Kami. Whitebeard's first son who can stand alone. The Mangekyo Sharingan that fell to the ground, compared to Whitebeard's burly body, was like an adult holding a soybean. Whitebeard casually picked up this Mangekyo Sharingan. In Whitebeard's eyes, this thing was a bit like a devil fruit, inserted into a person's eyes, and that person could use the power of this eye. Just right, to make a pair for Kakashi, this stupid son. If he doesn't want it, it can also be given to Shizui, or Izumi. Whitebeard grinned. Solving a despicable brat and having an unexpected gain, it's not a wasted trip. Glancing at Obito's battered body, Whitebeard thought for a while, and the power of the tremor fruit was activated instantly, shaking it into powder. With a breeze blowing, Obito's body disappeared without a trace. Mainly because Whitebeard felt that these ninja brats in the ninja world were hard to kill, and destroying the corpse was a safer method. Just in case one day, this despicable little brat suddenly revives with full health,